Leicester. Manager Steve Bruce says they were punished for errors on 2 occasions.
The one thing you don't want to be doing, we're arguably had our best spell in the game just after half-time. We give the ball away high up the pitch, they've broke on us, and before you know it, you're 1-0 down. And that bit of quality and keeping a hold of the ball in the right area is something we have to work on and improve on.
And Wales's Gerwyn Price has eased to his first PDC World Darts Championship title. The third seed survived a late fight back to get a 7-3 victory against 2-time winner Gary Anderson of Scotland. From Sky News, I'm Kevin Gover.
Greatest Hits Radio.
And now, the forerunner to Facebook, where your words tell 1,000 Instagrams. Use your phone for making that call. And get talking across the northeast, please. Because this is Night Owls with Alan Robson.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Night Out. Happy New Year! Hope you've had as good a one as you possibly could. Hope you're all well. Just heard on the news there, a new national lockdown. How do you feel about that? We were promised the first and second lockdowns. First lockdown, this'll definitely work. Didn't work. Second lockdown, this'll just finish it off. Didn't. New national lockdown. So many inconsistencies. I'll talk you through a few of them a little bit later on. But you keep it here. Fran Donnelly's busy reading a signed book I got from the back page in the Metro Centre. It's great. I think so too. Thanks very much. Really appreciate it. Made 15 pence. Top man. Let's crack on. We always set you a challenge. The challenge tonight is a good one. We've all been stuck in our little cells, our homely prisons, however big or small, with our various devices. And we've all watched probably more films than we really should. So what was the best film you've ever seen and why? And on the flip side of that, what's the worst film you've ever seen? And why? If you're looking for an absolute grippy film, the movie called Becky. Oh, it's a horror film. Oh. Anybody with a teenager who's ever lost it will completely understand this movie. Becky, check it out. It's not the greatest film by any stretch, but it's one you should be watching. If you're not a fan of horror films, between your fingers, probably. Best and worst movie of all time, and why? Do tell. Just a shame about a man I was lucky enough to meet, Jerry Marsden from Jerry and the Pacemakers. One of the big bands that made it from Liverpool in the 60s, alongside the Beatles. Superhero in that part of the world. Respects and love to his family. A doctor who discovered Ebola, so this is a guy who knows what he's doing, says that there are hundreds of worse viruses than COVID and they all come around regularly. So he's saying, well, what now? If there are hundreds of other viruses worse than COVID, will we ever be out of lockdown? Or do we ignore all other viruses except COVID? That's the thing I've never understood. The government has ordered all children back to school on Monday, even though some councils are saying the complete opposite to that. Should the kids go back? We're told they're the lowest risk of all, but a risk is a risk. Should they go back? What do you think? People with pets. Oh, and I know I'm going to get daggers from next door. because Hollywood McShane has 2 dogs and Chris Felton has fleas. So, have you got pets? Because if you do, your homes are up to 80% dirtier than any home without pets. 80% dirtier. Ew. Nasty. You all think, oh no, I hoover every day, as if that's going to get rid of the creepy crawlies that they bring in. Also, icy roads, driving in snow. This is a nightmare. I hate it. I've had a couple of skiddies. I've had a couple of nasty moments on the roads in snow. We were told that climate change was going to turn the north of England into a tropical paradise. We've even got sand on the beach on Newcastle Quayside, for heaven's sake. So what's gone wrong? And have you got any skiddy, slidey stories of driving in snow? I'd love to hear them. Oh, it's a cure for constipation, isn't it? Oh, when the back end goes, you just got to go with it. It'll take you where it will. And the holiday... No, this is interesting. The holiday industry. Now, if you're anything like me, I love just getting a break for a little while. The holiday industry has been promised by a leading government spokesperson that all international travel will be back to normal from May. How do they know? How can they be certain? They've told the travel industry, May, everything's back to normal. How do they know? We're going into a lockdown again. How do they know? Or have they known all along? Jimmy Cliff, I'm going to name one of his greatest hits. There are more questions than answers. There you go. This is Greatest Hits. Northeast, Alan Robson on the Night Owls. Thanks for joining us. Spread the word of the owl, as always. National fireworks. Did you watch the fireworks New Year's? Because you couldn't get out to see any, so... Did you watch any national fireworks? Complete disgrace. First of all, they turned it into a political thing. I started watching, I switched it off. It started off with the EU flag, because we're now Europe. We've said goodbye to Europe. Bye-bye, Europe. For good or for bad, depending, we'll see. Time will tell. Then they did a Black Lives Matter thing. It's all, that's very nice, but okay. COVID, they did a COVID thing. They did a National Health Service thing. They did a forces thing. They're all causes. They're all why can't? And I've got sympathy with all of that. Solidarity, brothers and sisters, absolutely. However, just for once, like in days of old, I used to do a party on New Year's Eve. Why can't people just play music, smile, be happy, let a few fireworks go, celebrate a new year without political BS, just for once? They got it so wrong, in my opinion. You may disagree. If you do, please give us a call. We always agree to disagree. And I would very much like to hear what your views are. Tons to talk about as well. This is shocking. Got an email this week, Tuesday gone. Alan, my relative recently died of a brain tumour. Yet because they gave him a COVID test 3 weeks earlier, he was found negative. They still recorded his death as COVID-related. How can this be right? Well, people who die in car crashes get put down for COVID. So when they say, the figures are getting really shabby and scary, well, is it any surprise? And I don't want anybody to die of anything. I want you all to be lovely and happy and safe. That's my wish for you for 2021. But just tell us the truth about these damn things. You cannot tell a family that after the family already know how their relative passed. Also, in a poll, 62% of women, most men have said they'll take it, 62% of women said they don't want to take the vaccine. Do you? Will it reassure you? Because even the doctors don't know whether it'll cover all these other strains of the COVID. Will you be taking it? Simple question. The National Health Service have said, and a doctor has said, we have an impossible job. We don't have time to vaccinate all these people. So how's it going to fit the timescale then? Everybody's talking about, by the end of March, by the end of April, and then May, everybody's going on the holidays apparently. Also, more people hospitalised for alcohol-related conditions than ever before. Is that because of all the lockdowns? People just sitting at home getting palatic. Tell me, has your drinking increased over this whole malarkey? In Hawaii, amazing story, you probably saw this if you're a UFO head. In Hawaii, thousands of people see a UFO fall into the ocean. There's pictures of it, just looks like a blue thing. When they say UFO, I suppose it's a UFO because nobody knows what it is. Boris doesn't want Scotland to leave the UK until 2055. I presume that's so he can't get the blame for it. But he has no say over it. The Scottish people will have that, and I think they'll be gone in 2, 3, 4, 5 years. The breakup of Great Britain. The United Kingdom no longer united. Big price to pay. Miami partying in massive groups for the new year. The government claimed immediately after the new year, let's face it, we're only early in the year now, they claimed, it's had a massive increase in COVID because of all the partying. Yet all of the hospitals in Miami say it hasn't had an increase at all. So who's telling the truth? And also, would you be able to tell they've got COVID after 3-4 days? I think there's just so much misinformation going around. Affairs. Ever had one? There's a question. I don't like them. Had them against me? Not a fan. However, Anonymous sent an email in this week. He's having an affair. It's a man. He's having an affair. And he says, is it ever the right thing to do? He's unhappy where he is. Doesn't want to leave home because he's got children. His partner, his girlfriend, not his wife, his girlfriend knows about the wife, understands the difficult situation he's in, so he's having as much pleasure as he can get when he's getting no pleasure at home. Is it ever right to have an affair? 0191 488 3188. A claim was made by an anonymous celebrity. No names, no pep drill, but I think you can possibly guess who it was. A claim was made by an anonymous celebrity that he was paid a 6-figure sum to say that he had COVID. And he isolated for a fortnight, and he came back saying he felt much better. And it was over Christmas. But he has leaked, not under his name, that he was paid 6 figures, that's at least 100 grand, to say that he had COVID. Why? Why would you be paid a 6-figure sum to say you've got COVID? Is that to frighten people? So that people believe that it's what they're being told? If it's innocent, how is that innocent? Don't get it. More questions than answers. And a woman who was diagnosed over the telephone was told that she was gluten intolerant. She actually had cancer, and by the time they had diagnosed her properly, it's too late. How many other people have seen their doctor, I say a seen, down the end of a telephone, or talked to them over the phone, and had a diagnosis from them? Try this. If it doesn't work, ring me up again in 3 weeks. It's not the NHS that we kind of paid for, is it? Like your view on that too. It's a million things to talk about. Any daft clark that's happened between Christmas and New Year and beyond. Let's talk about that too. Alan Robson's Night Owls. We've got some great music for you. Starting off with something written by David Bowie and completely done the justice by Mott the Hoople.
This is the home of Alan Robson's Night Owls.
With the voice of the North.
Greatest Hits Radio.
Okay, got a lot of messages there. Hundreds and hundreds and thousands and millions and gazillions. Julie says Planes, Trains and Automobiles is the funniest film. I love that bit where he says, I slept all night with my hand between these two pillows. And it was John Candy's butt. Brilliant, classic. Karina, DJ Trig, Carl, Dean, Norman, Anna, Darren, Andy, Krista in Los Angeles, William, Joanne, Rabbi S, GW, Alan and Christian Soushields all saying a Happy New Year. Thank you very much to every one of you. Really appreciate that. A couple of films have come in. Kevin T says he's just watched a Netflix movie. Some of them can be dodgy. Rebirth said, OMG, it was terrible. Still not really sure what he's just watched. And also, Malcolm says Mrs. Brown's Boys was the worst. In fact, it stole his money. And Elf, Rob says, was rubbish. I've yet to see, perhaps other than the Anchorman stuff, that guy make a film that's actually made me laugh. I do have a job with him. Anyway, crack on. Best and worst movies ever. Do tell. 0191 488 3188. We have another one of our link competitions to win the legendary Night Owls mug. That will be a little bit later, but let's get cracking. Louis from Newton Aycliffe's with us. Hiya, Louis.
Good evening, everybody. Hello, Alan.
Hello, man. Thanks for calling. What you got for me?
I'm just talking about how, in which direction the country is heading at the minute. We're basically in tyranny at the minute due to these COVID restrictions, and I believe it's enough is enough.
Right. Well, they say, like they have said on previous occasions, got to nip it in the bud. We got to stop it now. We know we're going to have to lock down, so we might as well do it now.
I disagree.
Why?
Well, it's basically, if lockdowns work, why are we in another one? And if lockdowns don't work, why are we in another one?
That's hard to answer. Yet they're kind of following what some other countries are doing. Other countries are saying, let's go into a... You could argue they love the power of it, governments, because they've never had this kind of power over their public in living memory, certainly not in my lifetime. And they're using it because emergency powers, you don't even have to take them to Parliament. They can just do it. And then it was for your own good, though, we did that, you know.
Oh, yeah, of course. The most dangerous sentence in the whole of history, Bill Clinton said, I am from the government and I'm here to help you. That's what he said.
Absolutely. Yeah. But if you flip on the opposite side of what you're saying, the government are saying if they don't lock down, the hospitals will be completely swamped and more people will die. And you can't possibly want that.
Die. Death is inevitable, surely. However, how they planning it, how they are broadcasting it to the country is that if you do something wrong, you're going to get COVID. Everyone's going to die. It's insane. It's something called Munchausen syndrome. Have you ever heard of that?
I have indeed.
Yeah, it's basically pretending that you're ill. Why are we testing healthy people to declare them unwell whilst neglecting actual unhealthy people? That's the thing I have concern with.
Now, I've always had that issue. The issue was right at the very beginning. Watch out for the elderly people who've got existing conditions because they're likely, if they get this thing, it's likely to take them. Now, that's terrifying. But now they're not even seeming to. They say, we're going to do nursing homes first, but we might do the staff first. The healthy ones. And that doesn't make too much sense to me either. But bottom line is, the government's now got a vaccine and is confident of it and wants to prog you. Are you going to take it?
I'm 18. I have something called an immune system. Personally, if you want to get the vaccine, that's fine. But for me, I don't want it.
And you think by having it, surely that would strengthen your immune system, wouldn't it?
At age, no, because COVID-19, as we've already identified, has an enormously large survival rate. And a vaccine, what is rushed, is just something which doesn't make any sense.
Well, I mean, you argue the case very well, but we're talking all of the government scientists, and Boris wouldn't lie, would he?
No, you could say that this vaccine has took enormous effort. The whole world has pulled together to develop this vaccine, but you could argue the analogy of you could take the whole world to prepare a cake, but you can never quicken the time it takes to actually bake. Same with a vaccine with all the safety trials. No matter how much effort you put in, you have to take time to realise its safety and its dangers. And this has not been the case with this Pfizer vaccine.
Well, I mean, there are 2 vaccines in Britain. Across the world, there's something like 17. Now, I've never been aware of any health problem. And I mean, let's face it, people have been searching for cures for cancer for decades, and they're still pouring lots of money in there to try and do it without success, and that's killing a lot of people. Yet here we've got COVID, and all of a sudden the world's got 17 vaccines.
It's madness. That's why people say it's a plandemic for a reason.
A plandemic? Ooh.
A plandemic.
Why? What are they achieving from progging us, frightening us, scaring us, and blaming every death known to man on COVID when it's a lot of other things too? I mean, why would they do that unless it was, whether we like it or not, maybe it is all true, and those that question it are completely out of step.
No, that's what... It's a hard one. But as you said before, early in the call, they love this power. Governments are there for power and control, and this is the ultimate time to do whatever they want. We hardly have any democracy anymore. Labour abstain from votes, and they could just bring in a policy tomorrow, and boom, it's law and affectionate. Well, it's crazy.
They're bringing it in tomorrow. It's a new national lockdown. That's what they say. The thing about the power, though, and we had that the doctor who discovered Ebola virus all of those years ago, and that was a scary bitch. He says that there are hundreds of worse viruses than COVID. Now, if he's telling the truth, and I've got no reason to doubt him, he knows more about virology than I ever will, does that mean that the government now has an excuse to completely take control and lock the country down without needing it to be voted on, without us having any say at all, year by year by year by year, because there's hundreds of worse viruses out there?
Yeah, I think they've just compromised the flu, to be honest. I think now's the right time, and this is what's happened. What you're going to see is a shift. There's been a massive economic shift. The Amazons, the Tesco's are having their best years, while the poorer get poorer, right?
Yeah.
And then the whole case of cashless society. Oh, we can't handle cash because of COVID. And then cashless society is now digital, which means even more control on the finances for everybody. Whoever controls the money has all the power. If it goes to cashless, they can control a lot. I
saw a pensioner, and this was only 3 days ago, and it was in Cranlington. I saw the tills at this particular shop have a whole row of card-only tills. You know, you can't pay cash in them at all. And this pensioner says, I've only got cash. And they says, oh, well, you're going to have to queue on the other side and get into the 2 tills they've got for people that actually have money. Everybody else, you presume's on tick. However, that's going to be... There's an awful lot of people that don't have... And I know it's hard to believe, but they don't have computers. Some of them don't have mobile phones.
Yeah, that's true. But it's a long-term plan. It's not going to be overnight, of course. And that's just...
But what's it all about? What do you think's behind all of this? If this is them using something that happens naturally, you know, the things come to test the herd and claim, sadly, some of the weaker members of the herd, and that seems to be what's going on. A virus comes, thins out the people, whether we like it or not. It happens year by year, whether you call it flu or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
What's behind it if it's not just a really nasty virus that we should be taking far more seriously than we are?
No, I think the whole case of just get on with it stands to reason because, as you say, the majority of the population won't even notice they have it, aka asymptomatic. It's just a big compromise of the flu, in my opinion. It's just they could use any policy they want, and they could dictate around COVID. Closed schools, COVID. Cashless society, COVID. They could use anything for this. It's just crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Right, okay. Louis, thank you very much for your views. Good man. Appreciate your time. Thanks for ringing in.
Thank you. See you later.
Thanks, man. Bye-bye. Strong views, doesn't believe it, thinks they've just twisted the flu. And when the government tell you that nobody's died of flu this year, oh, really? But it's because everybody's been put down as COVID. I'm not saying that it's not real. I'm not questioning it. I'm just saying there's more questions than answers. Sando from Wallsend says, great to hear that Mott the Hoople song. I saw them at Newcastle Mayfair. So did I. Many years ago. Great memories. Absolutely. Thunderbook Ram. Oh, there's a Mott the Hoople tune for you to look up. Happy New Year, says Tracy. Bless you, Tracy. Hi, Trace. Best film ever, E.T. Extra testicle. Watched it hundreds of times, says Tracy. Brilliant. It is a great film. Even the music is just fits completely right. Nice one, Tracy. Best and worst films. Oh, hang on a second. Dave in concert has 96 tattoos. What? Hi, Dave.
Hi, Alan.
It had to be a mountain, man. 96 tattoos?
At least, yeah.
Hell's bells. What have you got and where? Have you got any on the sausage?
Oh, I haven't. It takes too long to heal.
Right, okay. What was the first one? Let's hit that one first.
The first one was NUFC on my wrist.
Right, okay. Now that's tribal. Get that, understand. And what was the last one you had done?
The most recent one I had done was actually a big pattern down the side of my head.
A big So you went into the tattoo shop and you said, can I have a big pattern down this? Explain, what exactly is the pattern in?
It's the terminology is mandala. It's become very popular over the last sort of 4 years.
Right. And you've got that down the side looking kind of
so it
edgy.
follows the curvature of my head down behind the ear and then onto the base of my neck.
Question. You go to any interview with anybody for any job, you're not going to get it, are you?
That's the unfortunate part. The stigma behind tattoos is still very much real.
Yeah, but if you saw somebody with all of that, 96 is not like scant. If you got 96 tattoos and you're behind a bank screen or something, people are going to say, "Ooh, what the hell? Is he there to rob it or what?" But they are, aren't they? That's the thing. So what do you do for a living?
I actually have my own tattoo studio.
Well, that's probably the only only gig on the table there. Maybe I would have thought. So I mean, can you do yourself? If you pardon the expression.
That's actually how I started.
Right.
I did a lot on my right leg. I've tattooed my own knuckles.
Right. Does it not super? Because tattooing hurts anyway. Does it not doubly hurt when you're doing it to yourself?
It is a lot harder to tattoo yourself than it is to get tattooed by somebody else.
No, I bet. I can believe that. So, I mean, how much is covered? Are you completely top to tail?
I would say at a body percentage is about 85%.
Wow. That's amazing. You must look incredible, mind. Because I'm actually a fan of tattoos. When they had a big tattoo show at the arena about 3-4 years ago, I went along and my chin was on my chest the whole time. There was a woman she's tattooed everywhere, even down there.
Yeah.
And she had a coat, and she just opened a coat and everybody could... And it was like, she's about 90, and you're thinking, oh, please. I know I remember that one. I know it's pretty, but please, shut the coat. Just shut the coat. But on saying that, amazing tattoos. What's the best one you've seen then? Because you must have seen loads. You might have done one that you consider to be your greatest work.
The best tattoo I've seen has to... Oh, that puts us on the spot, that one, a little bit.
So I asked you.
So I'm a big fan of like black work and sketchy style tattoos. Right. So I kind of follow more that style.
Gotcha. Because I mean, it came about 5 or 6 years ago. It was all these Sanskrit people were getting and strange Asian languages tattooed all over when people had no clue what they meant. It could have been like pie.
The first Asian language tattoo I seen was actually my dad's.
Oh, what was it?
He got my mum's name in Chinese on his arm.
Is your mum Chinese?
No.
Right. So, but Chinese people know her name.
Quite possibly, if that's actually what it is.
Yeah, it could be like, I don't know, chow mein. It could be anything. Because I remember somebody getting some Thai writing, and it was supposed to mean strength, courage, honour, all that kind of stuff. And it actually said something like Brian's toy shop. You know, it was just something totally unrelated to what he thought it was. But,
yeah, I think the best thing I've seen recently on Facebook, obviously we see all the English with Chinese lettering tattoos. There was actually a photo of a Chinese lady with the English word peace written across her arm.
That's cool. Now that's cool in its way. One of the best ones that I've seen, didn't see it live, somebody sent me in a picture of it. It was a guy's back, and the top of his back were hunters, you know, people in red jackets, dan-divvy, jumping over fields and stuff. And there were hounds lower down his back, poking their way through hedges and all of that. And his backside, he's actually, the whole of his lower orifice, there was a fox's tail vanishing down it, which I thought was quite clever. In it, not that I particularly like looking at men's exhaust pipes, but I did think it was cleverly done. It was beautifully painted. It was a job and a half. But
Yeah.
so I mean, presumably you're shut now, because as soon as we went into Tier 4, you'd be shut down again.
From the announcement, that was me closed for the third time this year.
Aye. How have you managed, though? Has the government been giving you any cash, or what's the crack?
So I was able to get the self-employment grant, so that's helped. Obviously, the worst part of this year was my partner's on maternity.
Oh, my
So
God.
money has been tight this year.
Cheapest, right.
I picked the best possible year to actually open my tattoo shop, because I only opened it literally a year ago.
So you had probably, 2.5 months?
At the most, before the first lockdown, yeah.
Blimey. And then presumably when they opened up again, you'd got about 3.5 weeks before we were back in the next one again.
Yeah, we got reopened on the 13th of July. Then we got stuck with the November lockdown. Opened back up again in December, and then put back into Tier 4.
Crazy. Hey, it certainly doesn't help the small business, and that's why so many small businesses, you know, you say you got the self-employed thing. That's coppers in real terms, though, isn't it?
Yeah, so everybody has this insinuation that tattooists make a lot of money. People don't see the side that your expenses, your rent, all your bills for the shop.
Sure. And you've got to pay your rent even if you're not open. That's the thing.
But that's it, yeah. And then obviously people say, well, how can you charge so much for tattoos? When you break all the tattooing down, you're not actually making much more than the standard job, you know. But you do it because it's what you love.
No, for sure. And it's all you can get, 96 tattoos.
Well, I still plan to, at least, I want to double that number.
Give up with it. You haven't got room. What are you going to do? Just grow a belly on you or what?
Oh, well, I've got the belly off the Christmas weight anyway. But I've got a few little gaps that I can fill up.
Hey, well, I wish you well. I hope you're back to work real soon and catching up on what you've missed out this year. Let's hope 2021 does it for you, man. All the best. Thanks for calling.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, mate. Bye-bye. Superhero Dave from Concert. I mean, joking aside, has a tattoo ever got you into trouble? Has your boss said, oh, you got to wear long sleeves, so you can't do that? I remember once in town, the Newcastle Mayfair that was mentioned earlier, they did one kind of clamp down, I nearly said lockdown, we don't want to say it any more of that, a clamp down on kids wearing segs because it scratched the dance floor in there. So if you had segs, and everybody had segs back then, you had to take them all out before you went to the Mayfair. Then when you got home, hammer them all back in again. And the other thing that they clamped down on in a lot of nightclubs throughout the north was the tattoo thing. People were saying, oh, you got tattoos, you got to wear a long sleeve shirt. So they were sending people with T-shirts who were showing off their tats, the Hunky Chunky Brigade, sending them all home to get a shirt on. So has tattoos ever got you into any kind of problem? Have you got a tattoo that you want to share with us? You send us the pictures. We'll show everybody your tats. Get your tats out for the boys and the girls. 0191 488 3188. I can see this disintegrating into a very dark place. Marjorie, though, is with us. She is in Dipton. Hello, Marjorie.
Hello, Alan.
Hello, my darling. What can we do for you tonight?
Sorry?
What can we do for you tonight?
Well, I was rang and asked would I talk about COVID, so
Right.
I just
So,
don't know which particular part of COVID you want to talk about.
well, we're just going into this brand new lockdown starting today, full national thing. Is it the right thing?
Yes, I believe it is.
Why? And why is that, do you think?
Why?
Mhm.
I believe there are too many people who think it's a scam.
Mhm.
Some people who aren't actually believing that it is actually happened. I have just last week lost a member of family from COVID.
Right.
So it does actually hit me
Sure.
more than anything.
How
My
old
granddaughter was-
how old were they, Marjorie, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, he was in his 90s.
In
but
his 90s.
That's beside the point.
Right, okay.
It was still.
Still COVID, absolutely, no question.
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry for your loss.
In the schools,
Uh-huh.
I don't see why the schools should have to stay open for workers who are, what is it,
Well, they're
for
at risk.
care workers and staff and things like that.
Right.
When other children have to stay away, obviously.
Well, the government
teachers are there.
the government are saying, though, that the children have had their education disrupted for a whole year. They need to go back and be educated, otherwise they'll miss 2 years and they'll not be getting out of basic school
Well,
till they're
came up
18.
with a good, somebody came up with a good idea the other day on Facebook, Alan.
Yeah, what's that?
Okay, why don't they close down the schools for a while,
Uh-huh.
shorten the Easter holidays, shorten the summer holidays, and
Right.
have them educated during the time that they've made up the time they've lost.
Right, it makes sense. Did they not do that this year, though? Did they not change the holidays this year so that they could try and re-educate children a little bit earlier than normal?
I don't know. I'm not sure about that
No,
one.
I'm not sure either. No, but they've got to be educated as best they can. The problem
yeah.
comes when you get to college, because if you've been sent to be educated like hundreds of thousands have from all over the world, go to Britain and get one of the finest educations in the world. If you've travelled over here, it's not like you can go home easily. If you're going to a place like China or Japan or America, like we have many students. So what do? Because it's not like they can go to halls of residence and be particularly safe, because they're still surrounded by hundreds and hundreds of other students.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Oh, hang on, there's a
I'm
voice.
just getting interrupted by
I
my
know,
husband.
the voice of reason in the corner there. What does he say?
What did you say?
My generation, we left school at 15. These kids are at school at 17 or 18, so missed the years and they're going to kill them.
Yeah, well, they do have to do them. There's no question. They can't get the pass marks. They can't get the qualifications they need that they're paying for unless they study. And if the study's not available, what the hell do you do with them? That's the.
I know exactly what you mean by that. But the problem was when in our day, you didn't need the qualifications. You need to be capable with your hands more than your brain in those days.
Right.
That's what he's trying to say.
Is your husband more capable with his hands?
Yes, he is.
Well, there you go. Yeah, then my dad was just the same. He could do any job. Any
My
job.
dad, yes.
Plumbing, joinery, putting a tile on. He could do all of that. Well, I think the modern day generations don't know they're born, quite frankly.
I'm quite sure you're right there. They definitely don't.
There you go. Because the first,
like Alan says, if it's not electronic or technical, they don't know what to do.
That's the thing. Well, mind you, I'm as guilty for that, because if anything ever went wrong with the place that I was living, my first phone call was, Dad, I need me. The electrics have gone. I'll be over in a minute. The gas has gone out. Well, I'll be over in a minute. If it wasn't for that generation, we need more of that. We should be more comfortable with
to me, is the big problem about education, because they're not taught things like that these days.
Yeah, but
they're not taught home economics, so they don't cook.
But they can fix your mobile phone.
Oh, some 2-year-old that can do that.
So they do have their uses, in fairness. But you reckon that the government's done the right thing. How long do you think this national lockdown should be for then? Because they've had 2 earlier. Our previous caller made a good point. They've had 2 lockdowns. They didn't work. Why should the 3rd one?
I really can't say, because I don't think anybody can tell what's going to happen next. Right. It just seems as though nobody knows anything about it or what's happening.
But they're still right to do it.
Basically, you're in limbo, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, everybody is now. You're stuck in your home. You're locked in. You can go out for your groceries.
I've been in prison for months now.
Are you not getting sick of it, though, Marjorie?
Not so much sick as you get a bit depression now and again, and you think, oh, I've had enough of this, but we go out for walks, and we've got an allotment, and when we can get into the allotment, it's not so bad.
Right.
But
how have you put up with each other? Because it's a strain. It's a strain on a relationship being in the same.
It definitely is.
Absolutely.
Yes, I know I get fratchy, he gets fratchy, but.
How do you deal with it? I mean, do you have pillow fights at dawn? How do you get through it?
No, we just ignore each other for 5 minutes, and then he'll say, "Do you want a cup of tea?" And I go, "Aye."
That's a lovely way to deal with it. Marjorie, thank you for talking to us, and love to the Mister in the corner as well. Appreciate your time.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. All the best. That's nice. You get a family affair. Greatest hit, Sly and the Family Stone. Oh, Dance to the Music. What a tune that was as well. Right, let's go to Blythe in a minute. Just before that, though, I think we will have a chat with Aha. Morton Harkett and the boys telling me about their best and worst moments being in a band called Aha. What's been the highlight and low light of your time in the band? Best bit and worst bit?
It's hard to see those first years as anything except a highlight. I think we all kind of, as Morton indicated, we paid our price, individually in different ways for living in the spotlight. But at the same time, it was the dreams of our childhood. It was our childhood dreams coming true, and we sort of, we just grabbed onto the horse's mane and as best we could.
Yeah.
And it was a very exciting time. There's no doubt about it. You got to meet people who were heroes growing up, and we've had so many kind of moments that it's hard to. I mean, one little kind of personal favorite for me was one of these things we did for the Nobel Peace Concert of standing on the same stage with Paul McCartney performing Let It Be, and all the other artists there as a kind of an encore, and just having kind of locking eyes with him for a couple of minutes there on the, in the chorus was a kind of a huge thing for someone who grew up being absolutely fascinated by. Yeah, exactly. So we've. I don't like to look at it as necessarily as achievements, but we've had surreal and absurd happenings throughout our lives in the spotlight, and some, most of them looking back were fantastic.
Because it's strange you mentioned that the McCartney moment was just a bit of chemistry that was just incredible when he's done something.
Well, I just pretended I was in the Beatles for a couple of seconds,
I don't blame you at all. And yet he did a Bond theme, and so did you guys. So that almost puts you in par, doesn't it? You're in the same ballpark there, guys.
We have a way to go. There's no denying his impact on
for sure,
on everything. So but we try to do our best.
Officers were called this afternoon to reports of a stabbing near Emma Green. The boy died at the scene. Sir Paul McCartney has said he will always remember his longtime friend and fellow Merseyside singing star Jerry Marsden with a smile. Marsden, whose band Jerry and the Pacemakers were behind the hit You'll Never Walk Alone, died in hospital early this morning, aged 78. In sport, Manchester City didn't let the absence of 6 players because of coronavirus prevent them from getting a 3-1 victory at Chelsea in the Premier League. The win moves them to within 4 points of the top of the table. Manager Pep Guardiola says the performance was especially pleasing considering the disruption in the build-up.
Of course, the result is incredible for us to win here in Stamford Bridge, but especially the way we played. You cannot win titles when you're performing day by day. Is not getting better, is not good, because in this competition, especially in the Premier League, you have to play. First is the game, and after the results come later.
Leicester are back up to third thanks to a 2-1 win at Newcastle. The victory moves them above Tottenham, who have played a game less. From Sky News, I'm Georgina Campbell.
Thank you, Georgina. Alan Robson with your Greatest Hits Radio Northeast. Thanks for being with us. Now, we got a new competition. We started it over the Christmas and New Year. It continues. We had Pigs in a Blanket links. Now we've just got hit links. Greatest hit links. And I'm going to give you 4 clues. You'll end up with 4 words. Those 4 words are linked together somehow and point towards a hit song, a greatest hit record. You've got to tell me the name of the greatest hit record. Not just the thing that links them all together. What was the hit? Okay? There's a link. What's the hit that all of those links are attached to? Sounds complicated? Isn't really. Not if you're a genius. If you're not a genius, tough potatoes. The first clue is, who was the menace from our childhood comics? Somebody the menace. Who was it? Write that down. Who was the menace from our childhood comics? Somebody the menace. What was his name? Write that down. That's your first clue. You got 3 more clues to come. Let's get as many calls in as we can. We have Janet, who is in Blythe. Hello, Janet.
Hi, Alan. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Thank you kindly. So, what are you talking about tonight, Janet?
Well, I suppose it seems to be the topic COVID, doesn't it?
Okay, what's your view on all of this then?
Mine's a bit like, it's COVID, but there's a little bit of niceness in it as well.
Good.
So, last year was a bit horrendous, and I think it was for everybody. Unfortunately, I lost 2 family members. Well, my husband did.
Right,
not to COVID, but to cancer. So I totally get when people are going, how can these injections be, all right, when they've been, getting money for cancer for years and still haven't cured cancer.
It's about 40 years now. And
it is.
For the amount of people that have died to cancer,
yep.
If you add them all together, it'll be more than have died over COVID. So why didn't they put the amount of pressure on medical science to sort that out,
Yeah, totally agree. So the first lockdown was relatively all right, because I could get outside.
Right.
Second one, I've really struggled with depression. And my worry is I'm not the only one that's going to be struggling with depression.
Absolutely not. I mean, how have you dealt with it? Because there's no help there for you in real terms.
That's nothing. I've basically put one foot in front of the other and got to get on with it. I mean, I've got a husband with special needs and 2 children have got special needs. My oldest child has really struggled. He doesn't understand. He's got a mind of a 6 or 7 year old.
And how old is he?
He's 27.
Oh, bless him. My goodness. Right.
So he's really, really, really struggled. And then in the midst of this, I've had a son that's been taken into hospital and he found out he had a hole in the bowel.
Oh, blimey, that's a horrible thing.
So I've had that as well. So it's been pretty hard, but I want to tell you something nice that happened Christmas.
What happened?
Christmas Day.
Yeah.
I got a phone call off my boss.
What?
I got a phone call off Matchbox. I'm proper still buzzing.
You've always been obsessed with that man.
Oh, no.
But Christmas Day, that's amazing.
Christmas Day, what he does, he goes, lad, he's done it, he's absolutely amazing, Alan. He do from the beginning of the first lockdown, Matt Goss has done a weekly live from LA or wherever he is.
Las Vegas, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's in Vegas.
He's done a live, and I know he's helped loads and loads of people.
Right.
So you've got to put a request in because he does it on Instagram, and I've never ever getting on.
Right.
So on Christmas Day, I thought, do you know, I'm going to give it a go.
Right.
He rang us.
How great is that? That's fantastic.
It was the best Christmas present.
He's been on the show. He's been on the show a few times, and he's even sang a couple of his tunes for us, like a cappella and stuff. And he's a really genuine fella.
He is.
And to be honest, I'm a bit of. I've never been a Bros fan, but I think he and his brother are just storming people. They're really special guys.
They're lovely.
Yeah.
Really, really nice.
Are they friends with each other again? Are they not? Or do you know?
Yes, no, I think they are. Yeah,
because it's hit and miss.
Yeah, I think it is hit and miss. Luke fetched a single out. I think it was 11th of December.
Yeah.
But no, I think they are friends.
No, that's nice. It's nice. Starting a new year, it's a good place to be. Hey, but that's tell you, friend of the stars.
Oh, it was lovely.
Just
really
the tonic,
nice.
just the tonic you needed too. I'm guessing.
Yes, it was. And I mean, Dia knows what this year is going to hold.
Well, we'll get through it together. That's the deal. We'll manage.
Definitely.
We'll find a way.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, no question. I don't know how you've had the strength to deal with everything that you're dealing with if your husband can't give you the kind of same degree of support that you need because of his condition, and the boys are suffering too. How's the hole in the bowel? Is it sorted?
He's on laxatives for the rest of his life.
Believe me.
But there's nothing really that can do. He was in hospital for a week. Came out the day before his birthday, bless him.
Can they not sew the hole up?
No, because it'll kill some parts of the bowel.
Oh, lummy.
I know.
So the only way you can poo is to
laxatives.
Oh, that's watery, nasty kind of plushy ones, I call them.
Yeah.
You don't want a plushy one if you can avoid it, do you?
I know,
shame.
exactly. Poor. And I mean, my husband, he lost his mum, his dad and his sister this year, his mum last year, and his sister the year before.
All cancer?
No, sister was like, she had taken an overdose, but it wasn't. When all comes to all, it was because of she had ketones.
Oh, right.
Which was, which I didn't know nothing about. Which she had been taking painkillers because it was eating her inside.
Yeah.
And then our mum went into a diabetic coma.
Oh, yeah.
And then the dad and the sister, unfortunately, was cancer.
You've had a family with a lot of trouble and yet not a hint of COVID anywhere to be seen.
No. And I thought with my sister-in-law, because she had a fall, which was unfortunate, because she got the all clear from leukemia, and then she had a fall, and then
it took her.
Just went down, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's funny, because the amount of people that I've spoken to who have histories of either cancer or leukemia in the family, and they're obviously blood-related things, the amount of people that something is a catalyst to kick it on, and it gives it like a spurt, and it takes people out. A friend of my family fell down some stairs, fit as a lop. He was, I think, middle 50s, fit as a lop, fell downstairs. His cancer came back and killed him. And you think, so what was it that brought the cancer back? And the doctor said, it was the trauma of the fall. So in some cases, you might be clear, but you still got that thing lurking in the background that under the right kind of conditions can come back and take you out. Now, at the very beginning we said, why hasn't the government acted on this? Do governments in general want people to pass this horrific damn thing? Because why else would they sit on their hands about... Because let's face it, they don't fund cancer research.
No.
The public fund cancer research. They're not helping at all.
I mean, I once spoke to somebody who had said, "Oh, you used to only donate to cancer research," and then after years and years of donating, he said, "I've looked at it, and they still haven't come up with an answer to this." Crazy, isn't it? Crazy. It is. Once again, once you start talking about it, and we pride ourselves on the National Health Service, but unless they fund the research to find the answer, there's nothing that the National Health Service are going to do because they're dealing with everything else, and there's enough of that. But I've never understood how they can say, cancer, we're not going to bother. And I mean, we're not going to bother at all. Yes, we'll treat you once you've got it, which is a bit late in my opinion. Exactly.
But they should find an answer to stop people getting the damn thing in the first place.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they're telling us to do with COVID.
Yeah.
But they're not prepared to do it, and people are dying because of operations being cancelled, wrong diagnosis because they're talking to people down telephones.
Yeah.
Horrific. It's a mess. It's an absolute mess.
It is.
Hey, but lovely talking to you, Janet. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Take care, and Happy New Year. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye.
There you go. Janet and Blythe letting loose, and so she should too. We have Adam, who is in Langley Park. We're going to talk to him immediately after a quick track. We might as well have another star talking about stuff. Gloria Gaynor, superstar. How did she start her career?
So when you get up to the early teenage years, did you always think that singing was going to be the thing?
Well, I thought it would be either that or teaching. Yeah, I wanted to be a teacher.
Right.
I still want to be a teacher.
And is that what you were studying for?
No, that's the reason why I didn't become a teacher, because we were poor and I didn't have money for college.
All right.
So singing quickly became my first and only choice.
Yeah. Did you do any other jobs?
Well, I worked in a department store as a sales auditor. I worked in another store as an accountant. I always did office work.
Right.
Yeah.
So the singing was a sideline then? You were doing that in the evenings when you weren't working?
Right. I mean, the other thing that I did was I became a cosmetologist.
Yeah? What's that?
Where you do hair and nails and makeup
and
manicures and pedicures and massages and all that stuff.
That's a neat way to get extra cash in as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, what happened was when I told my mother I wanted to be a singer, she said, "Well, that's great, but in case you don't make it, try to get some practical education, vocation under your belt, because 10 years later, if you don't make it, nobody wants to hear that you never had a job."
Right.
So I went to school for beauty culture and for secretarial courses with shorthand typing and bookkeeping.
Right.
And I worked at those things for 5 years, and those things sponsored my early career as a singer.
Right. So how do you get into it, though? Because at that time, and it was a very exciting time for music when you first began, because the whole disco thing was just kicking off for the first and proper time.
Yeah.
So how do you get into all of that?
Well, I honestly didn't know how to get into it. I had no idea where to go. And so I believe that God just really sort of engineered whereby I was babysitting for a friend. She had a neighbor upstairs who would come in the afternoons, and so at 1 o'clock in the afternoon I would hear this person come in, and I thought, if I can hear this person walking, I didn't know it was a male or female, but if I can hear this person walking, they'll hear me singing. I just wanted somebody to hear me sing, so I would follow those footsteps, and when they stopped, I would stop and sing. Well, a couple of weeks later, I'm in a nightclub. I get called up to sing on stage because the footsteps upstairs belonged to the owner of that club.
Wow.
Who saw me come in, told the band about me, and they subsequently asked me to start singing with them the following night.
That's the fingertips of fate, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
0191 488 3188.
This is Night Owls.
Greatest hits radio.
A lot of emails coming in too. Anne Cumson says, I watched Casualty for the first time last night and I thought, my goodness, who wrote this? It was all about hospitals being overwhelmed, the staff in tears. Surely it isn't really as bad as that. It felt more like a government documentary designed to scare the crap out of people. Well, it was on the biased BBC. I wish a doctor or nurse would come on and tell us the truth instead of being scared to speak out because their job's at risk. That is a worry. We've been told that a few times on the show. We know the NHS is stretched, but I can't believe it's that bad. Last time we mentioned that, a nurse from Cramlington said, we've only got one person in our COVID ward and he's fine. Now, I don't know whether that's still the case or whether it was true even, but that's what she said, and she wouldn't give her name because she had been warned that her job was at risk. And also, Alan says, can you remember when the Bryan Adams concert at Gateshead Stadium? I loved it when you used to introduce all of the bands. Glad you're still going strong. Keep it up. We will. And, yeah, of course, I can't remember the year because I did those gigs, not just at Gateshead Stadium. Did some in Sunderland, some at St James's Park. Did a lot of them over the years. That was a particularly good one. I don't drink, but Jimmy Barnes, who was on that bill with the Pretenders, Jimmy Barnes took me out and said, you got to have a tequila. Didn't expect it to come in a pint glass. And that was a bit of a shock to my system. So I was lucky I was standing on that stage at all. And Bryan Adams is always great value. David, another lockdown, he says, a genuine question. Would anybody actually know there was a pandemic if the media hadn't told us about it? Now, that's a really good question, because the answer to that is no. Nobody would have mentioned it. Because people would have died in hospital of whatever, colds, flu, pneumonia. Because remember, COVID doesn't kill you. COVID lowers your immune system, so something else kills you. So, nobody would have known had the media not told us every day that thousands of people seem to be dying of it. And a lot of people have. And as many as they say, who knows? It's nothing you can prove any which way. We know that more people died in previous years, but hey-ho. Andy says, tattoos. I bought one of those cheap eBay tattoo kits years ago. To try it out, I did a little Chinese symbol on my leg. It looked all right, and the missus asked me to do the same thing on the back of her neck. After I did, she went into the Chinese round the corner and asked what it meant. It means king. Could have been worse, I suppose. Yeah, very much so. Keep up the good work. Top show as always. Cheers, Andy. Thank you very much. Still want your tat stories. Keep them coming. Let's get chatting. We have Adam in Langley Park, as previously promised. Hello, Adam.
Hi, Alan. Nice to talk to you again. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Thank you very much. I hope you and your family are well.
Thanks. Hope you had a nice New Year. Best you can have in these weird times.
I was in my box, and everybody else was in their box. That seems to be the way it was. What do you want to talk about tonight, then, Adam?
Well, I won the competition last week, and I just wanted to pop on and say thank you for your book, the Grizzly Tales of Northumbria.
Brilliant. I hope you like it.
Yeah, I love it. I've had a little bit flick through. It arrived after work last night, so I've just had a bit flick through. So anyway, I just thought one good turn deserving another. I might share a little Grizzly tale of my own, if that's all right.
Bring it on. We love them. Go for it.
Okay, so I don't know, you might remember, I work in a hospital in a support role.
Yeah.
I'm a healthcare assistant, and the ward I work on, it gets divided up. You've got like one nurse and one healthcare assistant for X number of patients, and it's divided up like that all the way along. So probably about 4 years ago now, on a night shift, me and the nurse I was working with, we were at the farthest end of the ward, about 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
All the lights were out, and there's usually a little bit of a lull in activity around 3 o'clock in the morning. All the initial surge of jobs, when you come on shift, you're just about caught up on, the patients are settled,
right,
and so the nurse gets a chance to start writing in the patient's notes, and the healthcare assistants restock the emergency cupboards and things of that nature. So the nurse was working, by the computer down this dark corridor. I was back and forth to the storeroom.
Right.
And on the way back, I stopped at the nurse's station to have a little catch-up with colleagues, find out what was going on on the rest of the ward. And then out of nowhere, the nurse I was working with came legging it up from that corridor, absolutely sobbing, hysterical, saying, "I'm not going back down there. I'm not going back down there." And we were all like, "My God, like, what's going on? What's happened?"
Yeah.
And she said she'd seen this shadowy figure cross the corridor from one of the bays the patients were in to a toilet across the corridor.
Right.
And she was absolutely beside herself, had no reason to doubt it. And we all, looked at each other while one of the other nurses was comforting her. And then all eyes kind of just, settled on me. And I was like...
In other words, you've got to go and have a look.
Yeah. I was like, all right, then. So I got my little pen torch, the thing that you shine in your eyes to, check your pupils.
Yeah, this is when you need a halogen torch the size of a dustbin, but fair enough, you had your little tiny torch.
It's what I had. I just got it out of my pocket and pointed it down the corridor, Fox Mulder style.
It's not the size that matters, it's what you do with it, come on.
Yeah, so I ventured down into the darkness towards this toilet. Now, just for a bit of background, this actual toilet, before I started working there, somebody actually had a cardiac arrest and died in that toilet, and they weren't able to bring them back.
Right.
So, and I knew this while I was walking down the corridor, and the hairs on the back of my neck were bristling, right? And I saw under the toilet door, the light was on inside, and I thought, well, I turned that off earlier on, I'm sure I did.
Yeah.
And as I got closer, I could hear shuffling inside.
Right.
And I knew all the patients were in bed.
Right.
So I wondered, if it was possible, one of them could have managed to go to the toilet unnoticed or unaccompanied, but they were all hooked up to machines or needed wheelchairs or assistance walking, so that was highly unlikely.
Yeah.
At any rate, I sort of, pulled up my bootstraps, kept my little pen torch pointed at the door, and then I swung it open. And what I saw, Alan, was absolutely bizarre. Never seen anything like it. I can only describe it as this will-o'-the-wisp type thing. It just spiraled up from the floor to the ceiling and just vanished in a shower of sparkles.
Whoa. First of all, the sound effect was incredible. In my head, I saw it. So that was brilliant. So it was, you say a will-o'-the-wisp. Was it a person first, or was it just a shape of stuff?
No, it was just a little glowing ball that just sort of spiraled upwards towards the ceiling, and then it was just gone in a little shower of sparkles.
Now, you see, you have then the choice. You can either go back to the nurse's station and freak them out by telling them what you've seen, and therefore be ridiculed for the rest of your life, or you go back and say, "Oh, there's nobody there." Which route did you take?
Well, I did tell them eventually, because it's not the first example of a weird story coming out of that hospital. But at the time, I was just like, "Yeah, there's nobody there."
Right. Well, there was nobody there, that's for sure.
It's all right. Come on back to work. But it was weird because I didn't feel scared or threatened or anything at all. I got this really warm, comforting feeling inside.
Well, you got what it's all about, really. You got the bonus bit, because people all over the world are reaching out to try and find that kind of proof that there's something else there, that we go beyond, and you had it right there. So do you think it was connected with that patient who died, or presumably it could be anyone who's passed in the hospital?
Well, exactly. I mean, I don't know. It's just a strange little coincidence, isn't it? Maybe it was night shift delirium. Maybe I was overtired, but
that would mean that both of you would have been tired in separate ways, because she saw a dark shape move across the corridor into the toilet, presumably without opening the door, and then you got in. There was some light and shuffling in there, and then you saw that anomaly. I can't do it as well as you, up to the ceiling.
Yeah. Can't describe, can't
amazing.
explain it.
That's
really
great.
Can't explain it.
Did you really see it, or were you just tired?
Well, I mean, I really saw it with my own eyes.
There you go.
No.
Can't doubt you. Can't doubt you. Brilliant. Thank you for your grisly tale. There's another book. It's bubbling under. Bubbling under. Adam, thank you very much for coming on. Good man.
Thank you, Alan. Take care.
Cheers, mate. Bye-bye. There's a guy working, again, in the care sector. We wish him and his colleagues well. Adam, Langley Park. Let's go to Forden now. Les has some comments. Hiya, Les.
How you doing?
Good evening. What can we do for you,
Not
Leslie?
too bad. Happy New Year yourself.
All the best, man.
Well, what it is, more or less, there's one or two people about the coronavirus.
Okay.
Reading the paper this morning about these footballers.
Uh-huh.
They're on, what, 180,000 pound a week?
Oh, fortune. Absolutely, yeah.
Like I say, there's a couple of the Premier Division teams who's had the same players having parties over the Christmas and New Year.
Yeah, sorry.
When their colleagues has been tested positive for coronavirus.
Crazy, isn't it? I mean, it was...
The manager is more or less told them, be nice boys when you do go out. But there's nothing done about it. Why can't the club fine them a month's wages?
Well,
and give half of it to the National Health.
I think that would be a great idea, but you know yourself that even if they fined them, because footballers are worth the kind of money that they're worth, and one of them was the guy who used to play for Newcastle, Mitrovic from Fulham.
Oh, yes, that's right, yes.
And Fulham have had a couple of players with COVID, and they've had games cancelled because of it. You know, because of the value of these people, and the club doesn't want them to beetle off anywhere else, the club would probably end up saying, oh, we fined him 100 grand without fining him 100 grand. You know, so it didn't cost them any money, and they didn't pay it anywhere. Oh, we fined him 100 grand. They could say that kind of thing and just give him a slap on the knuckles and say, get back to training, score a few goals for us. I don't trust much that comes out of the whole football side of things, but these people set an example for all the people that are their fans. If they don't abide by the rules, why should their fans abide by them?
The thing is, I mean, like I said, I was just on the paper this morning reading it.
Yeah.
I mean, they're virtually sitting back and laughing at everybody and putting their two fingers up.
Yeah.
And say, we're having parties and we know it's Christmas, New Year. A lot of people have to make sacrifices. A hell of a lot have to make sacrifices. Sure. And they're having parties, sticking their fingers up and saying, well, why should we have it? What a star player for whatever team you're playing with. So at the end of the day, why should we do it when they're getting away with it, you know?
Absolutely. But you see, the bottom line again is it all boils down to money. If you've got someone, and first of all, let's say you find them a week's wages. They're getting so much money in the first place. A week's wages to them on the annual wage that they're getting, they'll be saying, "Oh, I'm going to be off work for another week. Champion, I could cope with that. I'm getting 80 grand a week. Brilliant. If I don't get 80 grand this week, I'm getting 80 grand next week."
It's a big question that people's got to sit down and think about at the end of the day that the clubs alone, because they are. I mean, it's not just over the Christmas New Year. This has been going on since the COVID started back in March.
Yeah, and footballers during that period have been caught out time and time again.
It always seems to be footballers. You never hear tennis players, rugby players, or anybody like that. It's always the Premier Division teams.
Yeah,
your players from them who's doing it all, and it maddens you. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm a football fan myself, but like I say, at the end of the day, they're getting away with it. They're laughing at people, you know, and you're sitting back and saying, "Well, we're doing what we've been told to do," and they're just, we broke the rules. But they know they broke it, so why did they do it in the first place?
But do you think, again, to make the same point kind of that I made earlier, if you play cricket, you get a reasonable amount of money, but it's not footballers' wages. Rugby's even less. Any of the other sports, perhaps other than motor racing, it's relatively a little amount of money. So therefore, you kind of take the chance that the manager's going to bin you. But in football, if you're a top player and somebody's just paid £25 million for you, why should you listen to what anybody says?
Yes.
I don't understand how a manager, because most of the managers in the Premiership, some of them are on like 60 grand, 70 grand, 80 grand a year, not a month, a year. And when footballers could be on 120 a week.
I know.
So why should any footballer in the Premiership listen to a manager?
I know. I quite agree with you. Like I said, I mean, I've never rated players to be on £180,000 a week. You know, now they only play, 10, 12, 13, 14 years in their career.
Yeah.
You know, and they're millionaires before the first year is out.
Well, we've had cases in the northeast. I'm not going to mention any names because everybody in Sunderland knows who I'm talking about. They bought a player from, I think it was Everton, and they paid him something like 120 grand a week, and he didn't play well enough to get in the first team. They couldn't sell him because nobody wanted him, so he just hung on there and had a thoroughly nice time. And can you blame him? I mean, who else would have done anything different?
So there's a thing out in Newcastle. Like I say, they go on the bench and they say, well, I didn't need to play because just what you said, I'm getting so many £1,000 a week, so why should I kick a ball for? Yeah. They're out there playing and they're getting more or less the same as me, or a little bit more than me, but I'm quite happy just sitting there not kicking the ball.
But you probably know yourself that if you go back, certainly to me dad's generation, where it was players like Jackie Milburn who got like £1.35, probably £1.10 back then. He got paid coppers, but he would do it even if he didn't get any money at all, right, because he loved the game so much. And now we love the money so much, I might play football as well.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. It's all about money this day and age. It's ruined the game, to be quite honest with you. I mean, I've been in football for a lot of years, and it's absolutely ruined the game. These 130 million players, I can understand why people pay them for, because they're not good off for them.
Yeah, and from time to time, Newcastle, because you mentioned Newcastle, they just go to Europe, throw a net over a nightclub full of footballers, and drag them back and hope that one or two of them will probably work out. And sometimes they do, and usually they're sold within a year or two. But it's a funny business, isn't it, Les? So, the whole coronavirus thing, where do you think it's going?
I don't really know. The other thing I was going to fetch up before I forget.
Okay.
Again, it was in the paper this morning. These idiots down at St Thomas's Hospital in London. Did you see the paper?
I didn't. Tell me about it.
Right. It doesn't show you their faces.
Right.
But when some of the doctors and nurses were on a long shift.
Right.
12, 13, 14, whatever it is. They were coming out, they were getting booed, hustled and bustled by doing a shift in what they would call themselves was, I can't think what they call themselves now, but that something to do with the coronavirus. They don't believe, well, that was it, the thing, it's a hoax.
Right.
Right? They were bustling these doctors saying, well, they don't believe in the virus,
in coronavirus. They think it's just a scam.
They don't believe that. Yes, we know there's a lot of people die, but yes, we know there's a lot of people who died who haven't had the coronavirus.
Sure.
But, you say it every week. But we don't really know. But they were standing outside, there must have been about 30, maybe it's more, no masks on.
No call for that.
But you can't see their faces.
Right.
My point of view is, if that hospital has got CCTV cameras, why don't they put them out and show everybody, the idiots that were going down there and doing that, the doctors and nurses, when they worked damn hard over the year.
It's the complete opposite to how the rest of the countries, they've applauded the National Health Service.
True.
And respect to them, because to me, the COVID thing, you either go for it or you don't, and never the twain shall meet between people, the believers and the non-believers. The fact that everybody agrees with, people are dying, there's no question about that. But the non-believers believe they've died of something else, and it's being called COVID, rather than COVID's caused it, and it was that.
I mean, I guess the COVID's been going on since March last year.
Yeah.
And you only have 2 months away from that to begin with.
Yeah,
but it's going to be 12 months.
To me, it doesn't matter.
But
it doesn't matter to me whether people are dying of COVID or whether they're dying of pneumonia or flu or whatever. They're dying. That's you can't deny that is the fact. They're passing over. They're dying. So therefore, the doctors and nurses are doing their best to look after them and heal them if they possibly can. So they don't deserve ever to be booed. Full stop.
No, they don't. I mean, honestly, I was disgusted when I seen the picture in the old News of the World. I think it's the Sun on Sunday now. Honestly speaking, when I was reading it, it was disbelief. I couldn't believe what I was reading, because there as far as I'm concerned, they're just stupid idiots. But what the doctor said was one of the doctors who took the photograph, but he took it at the back of their heads.
Yeah.
What he says was, what they want to do is get a couple of them, go in one of the wards that's got coronavirus with no PPE on, and sit them down and see what they would do when they were sitting next to somebody who's got coronavirus.
Right.
What would they do then?
Yeah, there you go. And absolutely, I hear you. Hear you loud and clear. Hey, well, thank you very much for that. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time. Bye-bye. There's less strong words and booing. You don't. Well, you just don't. Medical practitioners doing their best. Full stop. Nurses paid a pittance. No, they deserve our support. Absolutely, 100%. There's a lot of things about the NHS that I'm hating at the moment. Hating the fact you can't see a dentist. Hating the fact you can't get in to see your GP. And most people are in that situation because we're kind of like cars. With dentists, you need an MOT. With your doctor, you need them to have a look at your tyres every now and then to make sure that you're heading in the right direction. And you can't do that with all the best will in the world looking down the phone. I've been watching a little bit of American telly recently, and on there they've got a system, and I'm going to name it. It's called Teledoc. Now, this costs, mind, but if there's something wrong with you, instead of trying to get to see a doctor, you ring a doctor, they pop up on your telephone or your computer screen, and you can have a conversation with you. It's about $60, $70, so 50 quid each couple of minutes, I'm guessing. If you go 4 minutes, it's 6 minutes, doubles, trebles, and quadruples. You really want a conversation or to tell a doc something for that kind of money? Well, maybe they're obviously making enough money to advertise nationally on American and Canadian television, so it kind of works. But how good a diagnosis can you get over a telephone screen? Do you get your bits and bobs out? Do you say, do you want to check me cat flap? I know you cannot reach me with your finger, but hey, you can maybe have a look and tell me, if everything's all right up there. Really? Oh, I've got a bit of thrush. Have a look at... No. Not in my opinion, but maybe in yours. Maybe you've had one of those conversations and he or she sorted you out good and proper. Do tell. 0191 488 3188. Now, we've got Elton John's biggest fan. We got an email last week trying to get in touch with Tom Cridland, who's in Northamptonshire. Hello, Tom.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well. Now, what makes you Elt's biggest fan then?
Well, it's a bold claim, but I'm definitely up there. I've been to 35 gigs in the last 10 years, I guess it must have been.
Oh, that's
got into music at uni.
That's impressive.
And I was a big Beatles fan before that. But I guess, maybe my biggest kind of claim to being Elton's biggest fan is the fact that, it inspired me to start writing and performing my own music, which I've kind of been following pretty hard the last couple of years, and I'm supporting the Stylistics, who are, of course, from Elton's era. They're a big soul band from the 70s as well, and I've managed to get myself supporting them within a year or so. And I was kind of inspired as well by Elton's sobriety, which is what led me to take up making music.
So, hang on, why pick Elton when there's so many others you could have latched upon?
Oh, it was just completely by chance. I was a huge Beatles fan when I grew up, and someone at uni was playing his music, and I just sort of, before that, I wasn't so into Elton from afar. I sort of thought maybe he's just a kind of celebrity type of person, bit of a celebrity kiss-ass type of person is what he kind of struck me as, and then I just thought his music was wonderful.
So can you remember the song you heard that turned you on to him?
It's all the 70s stuff, the Goodbye Yellow Brick Road album is amazing. Don't Shoot Me, I'm Only the Piano Player album. Basically everything that he did from 1970 to 1976. And his live band are phenomenal, and his drummer, Nigel Olsson, is a dear friend of mine, and the original guitarist, David Johnstone. They're at all the gigs. Anyone who's been to an Elton John gig will recognise those names. And they're just as, if anything, I'm more fans of them than I am of Elton himself.
Well, I'll tell you that there's two things. First of all, Nigel Olsson released a single called Only One Woman, which is incredible, absolutely incredible. And the other thing was, Elton John, and his band, and I'm a rock fan. I like the noisy stuff, always have, and yet in the same week that Motorhead appeared at Newcastle City Hall, Elton was on 2 days later, and I had tickets for both. And Elton John's band was louder than Motorhead, comfortably, and I mean comfortably louder. And I was literally blown away because Motorhead had 2 stacks of speakers from floor to ceiling, both sides of the stage, and Elton had 2 speakers that you could probably fit in a living room either side of the stage, and yet he had more noise coming out of them. And to this day, I have no idea how he did it, but it was a fabulous thing to see. What's been the best gig you've seen then?
Sorry?
What was the best gig you've seen?
Yeah, the best gig that I saw was probably 5 years ago. I went to Las Vegas and saw an amazing gig there. It was during the $1 Million Piano Show.
Right. Oh, is that with Billy Joel?
No, that was during Elton's residency out there.
Right. Because he went on the road with Billy Joel, didn't he?
He did those face-to-face concerts.
Right, yeah. Cool. I'm hearing a lot of noise in the background. I'm tempted to say, is the bitch back? Oh, he's gone altogether. Oh, maybe I hit a nerve. No, one of Elton John's songs is The Bitch is Back. Anyway, 01914 488 3188. Obviously not. Maybe Tom left tonight on a plane. There you go, he's gone. So, Elton John, biggest fan. Who are you the biggest fan of? We still want your movies as well. We've had loads of them in our comments and private chat. Keep that going by all means. Time for another piece of music. Now, here's the thing. Belinda Carlisle, the most beautiful carved chin of any female from the United States of America. I can tell you that for nothing. She lives in France at the present moment. I asked Belinda, what really ticks her off?
What really ticks you off?
Oh, I don't know. I think ignorance really does. And
ignorance over what?
I mean, ignorance over just, I don't know. I mean, intolerance and ignorance, which are actually probably the same thing.
Yeah.
In some ways. So I think I'd say that makes me angry. And
I think the whole Elliot riots thing spawned
well,
from
I mean,
that precise
America
thing.
makes me really angry, actually. So that's one of the reasons why I won't go back.
Right.
Americans make me really angry.
We love America, though, in general, this country. So why have you got it down on it?
I'm really against gun culture and you know, America's like not minding their own business sometimes, and there's things that they don't know about or they do know about, and it's just about money.
Right.
So, but I mean, most of all, it's the gun culture and the way the country is run. Really.
What makes you laugh then, Belinda? What kind of things?
I
make
Love
you
Lucy.
giggle?
I Love Lucy still after all these years, which is a sitcom. I love English humor. I love dry wit and irony a lot, and English humor is filled with that.
after a while, and it's part of your life.
I want to protect as many people as possible, and if that's the way we've got to do it, then I'm kind of on board with that.
It's a tough balance to strike between getting the public on board with it and the damage it does to the economy, but I think it's a necessary evil.
Donald Trump's been recorded pleading with Georgia's election chief to help him find enough votes to overturn the election result in the US state. In the audio, which was obtained by NBC News, Mr. Trump can also be heard launching into a barrage of discredited conspiracy theories. A 13-year-old boy has been stabbed to death in Reading. Police were called to Emma Green on Saturday afternoon. The boy died at the scene. No arrests have been made. Boris Johnson insists primary schools in England are safe ahead of their reopening this morning. He's told parents COVID-19 poses a very small risk to their children and education should be the priority. Sir Paul McCartney has paid tribute to his longtime friend Jerry Marsden, who's died at the age of 78. The former Beatle said he'd always remember the You'll Never Walk Alone singer with a smile. In sport, Chelsea's poor run of form in the Premier League's continued with a 3-1 defeat at home to Manchester City. It's just one win in their last 6 games for Frank Lampard's side. The Chelsea boss says the display showed they're still a team in development.
That was painful first half for the players. I know that. They've got to get better at receiving the ball in tight areas. They've got to understand when a press comes, you're going to have to accept it or miss the press out. When a team gives you a problem on the pitch that we talk about before the game, has to be dealt with in game. And in the first half we didn't. In the second half we were better, but it was done.
Leicester back up to third thanks to a 2-1 win at Newcastle. The victory moves them above Tottenham, who have played a game less. From Sky News, I'm Georgina Campbell.
So there you go. You got Keir Starmer pushing for another lockdown. Boris saying another lockdown might be necessary. We know that we are in Tier 4 now here in the northeast as of midnight tonight. Tier 4. Is that lockdown under another name? What do you think? 0191 488 3188. The tier system was supposed to slowly but surely start to allow people back to work. Tier 4 shuts a lot of those places down again. Where do you stand? Are you in a pub? Are you a hairdresser? We just heard how one of our tattooists had to close down again for the 3rd time. It's not exactly fair, but is it right? Do you think we should have another lockdown? They're talking about it. I think it'll come pretty damn soon. What do you think? Or is Tier 4 the lockdown under another name? 0191 488 3188. Now, we have a prize for you. It is, of course, the Night Owls mug. If you would like to win the Night Owls mug, I'm going to give you 4 clues. The 4 clues you put together, you realise how the 4 clues are linked, and then you tell me the name of the hit, the greatest hit record that they are all pointing towards. Clue number 1 is, who was the menace from our childhood comics? Who was the menace? Somebody the menace. Who was the menace from our childhood cartoons? The second clue is this. A famous Motorhead song, not Ace of Spades, everybody thinks of that. A famous Motorhead song, or a World War II plane made in Lancaster. Okay? A Motorhead song, or a World War II plane, very famous, made in Lancaster. 2 clues down, 2 more clues to come. Remember, we're not looking for the link. The link should point you towards the hit. What was the hit? Dig it out once you get where we're going with this. Some of you may already have it right. If so, keep it to yourself. Let's crack on. We have, where are we? There, Kerry, who is in concert. Hello, Kerry.
Hello, Alan.
Hello, madam.
Have you had a good New Year? Well, the best you can have.
That's it. We were all banging our heads off the same walls, so hey, not to worry. What can we do for you then, Kerry?
Well, I've been listening to the show all night, and listening to people's opinions on COVID and whatnot.
Uh-huh.
And to be honest, I got a bit infuriated with some of them.
Go for it.
But simply, I mean, people really need to start looking at the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
Right, you've got to take in the facts.
Right.
We've got the fact COVID isn't a highly consequent infectious disease. That's number one. It's number 9. It's 19th on the ONS website.
Right.
So let's just hold that for a minute.
Sure.
Right? The hospitals, Freedom of Information Act for local hospitals, there was less admissions this year than there was last year.
Right.
Now, this is hospitals that are overrun by COVID.
Uh-huh.
Then you've got the deaths that are put down to anything and everything, but it's COVID.
Yes, that's true.
You know what I mean? Everything's COVID. Everybody's dying of COVID. But what about those people that aren't dying of COVID, that are dying of the other things like you mentioned earlier, cancers, organ failures, etc., etc. That lady that came on and mentioned her husband's
the family.
I mean, these people are suffering. Or does it just not exist anymore? Do you know, is there nothing else in this world apart from COVID?
But you know yourself that if we were to say, COVID it's terrible, it's the worst thing, you're in risk, wear a mask please, you're going to die, and all the stuff that you get everywhere else, you get a wave of people saying, no, you're not. It's rubbish. Don't believe that. I don't know a single person who's had it. And we get a lot of that. But on the other hand, if you were to say, COVID, it's just a scam, you get battered in the other direction. It depends which side you're standing on.
But you see, taking sides means you have an opinion. I don't have an opinion. Sure. I'm going off the science and the facts that are there.
Okay.
They're there for everybody to literally go on the internet and have a look. They're there. It's in black and white.
Now, you see, using what you said before, there's it's 19th on the list of the things we should worry about most.
Yes.
That's a long way from number 1. Let's face it. If you were in top of the pops, you'd be pretty paid off at 19. But at number 1, well, they'd be cracking it. But so, does that mean we should have lockdowns about the 18 things above it?
Well, wouldn't you? That's one of the things I argue. Did we lock down for the flu?
Never. No.
Have we ever locked down for all the other things that are killing people? Never.
No.
Right, so let's just not go off opinions, just go off the facts that we've got. So we are number 19th on the ONS website, right? It's not a dangerous disease. It's not highly contagious. It's not really affecting the masses, despite what people want to think.
But hang on, how can the government then say on a nightly basis, because they give the numbers to the news channels, and the news channels have to read them? I mean, they can't say, well, I've got tonight's, but I'm not going to bother. They've been told they have to read them. They're instructed, ordered, national emergency. You have to do this. Now, why would they make up figures then if it's not this massive thing that you're seeing?
Right, you're saying make up figures. Let's just look at the figures using the PCR test, which is not fit for purpose.
Right.
It will find anything in your body. It cannot tell you are ill or you have COVID, right? That is a fact. Go, anybody, please, who's listening, who's writing in on the Facebook thing, go and have a look. That's a fact.
Well,
it was never made for purpose.
It was designed to see whether or not you've had a virus within a period of time recently. Is it 30 days or however long? But it's designed to see 28 days. So it was designed to see if you've had a virus. Now, it doesn't say the virus was COVID. It could have been flu or cold or any of the other hundreds of viruses that's out there. But on the same hand, they're saying people are dying. Hospitals can't cope. They're being overrun left, right and centre.
But they're not. And that comes first hand. I've been into hospitals because I have to take people to hospitals.
Right.
And I've been into hospitals. Hospitals are empty. They're empty. And as for the comments that were made on your Facebook...
but why would doctors not come out and say...
Because they can't. They can't. They have been... They're being
gagged.
Told, if they do, gagged. Call it that, gagged. They're being gagged. Those that have spoke up, and there is many, there's plenty out there for people to speak to. if they speak out even the slightest, or put a post on that Facebook or something, anything like that, that's it. Job gone.
Well, okay, let's look at it another way. I've been to a doctor's once.
Right.
And it was a nurse's appointment because you can't get in to see a doctor. I'm not getting into the reasons why, because it wasn't for me. It's for a family member. And
yes.
So was there anyway.
Mm-hmm.
If they know that it's not as virulent or as out there as all of the newspapers, the government, the propaganda says,
yes.
why are they dressed up like they're, like they're in Michael Jackson's spacesuit? Because they are. Doctors and nurses are coming out in the white kit, aren't they?
Well, it's funny you should mention that because I actually had let's call it a debate, because that's essentially what it was, with a GP just the other day.
Right.
And we discussed the whole topic over the phone.
Right.
Because I have to receive treatments.
Right.
I'm supposed, and I haven't received any during COVID.
Oh, hell's teeth, right.
Right.
Uh-huh.
So, but I'm not going to stress about that, because, at some point I will receive my treatment. It might be too late, but hey-ho, you know what I mean? Right. I'm a fighter. I'll be out there.
Good go.
And I argued why I was being enforced, even though it's not law, to wear a mask. I am exempt because of the medical conditions that I have.
Right.
Right? And they agreed, yes, you are exempt. But if you come in here, you have to wear one. If you don't wear one, we can't treat you. And I'm like,
right.
But aren't you wearing a shield and a face mask and a plastic pinny and a set of gloves? And yeah, but if we take them off and you've been breathing in the room, we'll get COVID.
So that means masks and the plastic visor thing.
Nothing's protecting you.
They don't work. Because the guy that I saw, I saw him walk down the corridor. He was nowhere near a patient, but I saw a doctor come out of one room and go into another, and he was wearing a full green pajama-y thing.
Oh, yes.
The hat, the mask, the visor, the gloves. I was thinking, hell's teeth, he's not going to touch any of us, is he?
Well, you see, that's it. I mean, I've been in, and I'm fortunate. At the beginning of lockdown, I got to see GPs because I have to.
Right.
And I got to see nurses. And I have to be honest, my GP, the first two GPs I seen wore a pair of gloves. That was it.
Right, right.
As things moved on, the third GP I seen was wearing the whole ET get-up. You know what I mean? Because I was waiting for an alien to land the way he was dressed. And the nurses I seen did everything that they needed to do for us, the whole drawing of blood. No PPE.
Right.
None.
Which completely flies in the face of everything that the doctor's sending out.
Exactly.
Right.
I'm sitting in a waiting room that has about 6 chairs in it because they've crossed everything out and you can't sit there and you can't do this and don't breathe and don't,
Yeah.
But then I go into a room and nobody's wearing any PPE. Now, these are the things that I'm looking at, and these are the things I'm questioning, because as a human being, we'll have to question, always question.
If you're a nurse, and again, the nurse that we saw, was dressed with her mask, visor mask, gloves. Now, she's a nurse, and I mean, yes, there are male nurses. This one just happened to be a female nurse.
Yes.
The nurses have enough nous. If they were that frightened, they'd have the whole kit on too, wouldn't they?
Well, yeah, definitely. Because if I was frightened of something, I wouldn't be putting myself in a situation.
No,
but these nurses aren't. Yeah. I've been into a hospital. They weren't wearing full PPE.
Right.
They had the gloves on because they have to have gloves on for certain things.
So the obvious question then has to be why? If it's not because if this is the 19th most serious thing, not the 18th or the 10th or the 5th or the 2nd, it's the 19th, according to the Health Service's own statistic, 19th. Why did we have the reaction that we did? And why has it been created into this incredible international, worldwide? This is
because they made such a good job of the fear tactics that they pushed. They made a huge get up of making everybody fear this imaginary. I'm going to call it imaginary because they haven't even isolated it. Still, to this day, they haven't isolated it. Right? So they haven't ran all the things that they need to do. They haven't done any of that.
Right.
So until they do that, we can't actually say this particular thing exists.
Right, but on the flip side of that, and there's a lot of people that will be absolutely disagreeing with you. However,
that's fine.
However, the flip side of that is because of your health conditions, you are going to be one of those high risk. So therefore, they're going to be saying to you, you really need to get this wallop in the arm, and then they said in something like 3 weeks' time, and now they've said, it's 12 weeks' time. Now, there's a hell of a difference between 3 weeks and 12 weeks. But they're saying, you've got to have your second jab after 3 weeks. And then when they realised that they weren't getting enough jabs at all, they said, 12 weeks. It does sound like it's being made up.
But you see, you're supposed to have your first jab and then your second jab within 3 weeks.
Yes.
If they leave it till the 12 weeks, they don't know if it's going to basically work.
Right, but you're going to be the one offered it before pretty much the rest of us.
Well, I won't be having it. I won't be having it because all right through this whole entire lockdown, I have been amongst people. I've been to places. I've done what I've needed to do. I've been out amongst some of the protests.
And you're mask-free as well because of your condition.
I'm mask-free. I don't wear a lanyard. I don't wear one. I'm not being labelled. I shouldn't have to. I don't have to. It's not law. You don't have to wear them.
Right. I bet you've had some flack though, because they'll be saying, there's somebody who's spreading the damn thing.
Well, I actually got quite a terrifying reaction off a lady the other day, which wasn't so much a bother for me, but it was from my child.
Right.
And she ran away from us in one of the supermarkets.
Right.
She literally ran away. I said, let's step back, let the lady pass. And she looked at us straight in the face, did a panic, waved, I'm not coming near you, you aren't wearing masks. She was shouting it down the aisle.
Right.
Now that kind of reaction isn't necessary.
Right. Kerry, you came on because a lot of it irritated you, what you were hearing. What you've said has done exactly the same thing to many, so we're going to move on. But thank you very much for coming on.
That's great, thank you.
Stay well, take it easy, bye-bye. There is Kerry. Now, do you agree, do you disagree? Craig, Newcastle upon Tyne. Hello, Craig.
Hello, you all right?
Yes, I'm good, mate. Good to talk to you. What you got for me?
Just it's crazy. I think the last time I spoke to you was about 20 odd years ago now.
And you obviously enjoyed it so much you've come back on. It took you a while, mind.
I know. Why? I didn't know where you went. But
glad you found me. Thank you, man.
Yeah, I loved it. I used to love it as a band. Used to work with my dad. Not work with my dad, but go with my dad to security on night shift and things. Right. I would just sit and listen to you and things like that. And
excellent.
At one point, I got I asked you, rang you and asked if you would send a photo of you and signed photograph of me mum.
Brilliant. Well, I hope I did.
Yeah, you did. Yeah,
champion. Thank you for that. That's good news. So what you up to now that you're not following your dad's career? What are you doing?
I'm a carer for partner at the minute.
Right. How's she doing? Is she all right?
Yeah, she's doing fine. She's just sat right here on the bed beside us there.
That's the best place for her. Tremendous.
Yeah.
That's good.
Definitely.
Hey, well, thanks for coming back in touch. Glad you finally located us. More to come. Thank you very much for coming on.
No bother. Look forward to listening to more to you. Brilliant.
Thanks, Matt. Take it easy.
Take care, mate.
Thanks,
bye.
Bye. And give your missus a squeeze from me. There you go. Just listen for a long time. COVID Tier 4 came in on, I think it was New Year's Day. And this is our first proper week of it. And everybody's closed down again, or an awful lot of people. Just the shops open. How are you coping with it? And should it move on, like Keir Starmer said in the news there, to an extended total lockdown? where you're not supposed to leave your house unless you're visiting a shop or exercising. Now, you see, I think, and hey, I'm one of these up every morning, hate it, but I'm doing it, jogging every morning. Oh, I can't stand it, but it's a daily ritual now, and I suppose it's doing me good because I'm healthy and able to run much further than I have ever run before. However, when I'm out there, I'm seeing entire families, 4 of them, walking down a road. So I'm walking 2 miles today just to get out the house without spending money at supermarkets and shops. I'm seeing more people on bikes, more people running, jogging, walking, just to get out. But doesn't that totally, when you say, oh, but you can exercise, that's the loophole that has people meeting and chatting on streets. I saw a group of about 8 people having a conversation at the end of a road because they'd bumped into each other when they were out having a walk. Doesn't that defeat the object? Because when you're exercising, you're not wearing a mask. Just a question. 0191 488 3188. Get your calls in. David doesn't believe any of it. He says, all a hoax from the start. It doesn't exist. Influenza has gone. And, a lot of people confirming that the Tier 4 started New Year's Day. It was immediately after nobody had a party. But that's what it was. So anyway, let's crack on. Good. Time for a quick piece of music. That piece of music, I think, should involve Rod Stewart talking about his fans first, though. Have a listen to this. I can't think of anybody else who's delivered as consistently as you, right up to the present day, where, people would be thinking, when was Rod's height? I couldn't put my finger on it because you're as big now as you've ever been.
Yeah, this is, for me, this is a wonderful period to be alive because it is a rebirth. And
right.
I think I've got the best fan base in the world. They really are tremendous, my fans.
Right.
I don't like to call them fans. It's so impersonal.
Friends,
they're my mates.
Yeah,
friends,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes like. I hosted the gig you did at Gateshead some years ago in the round at Gateshead International Stadium. And when we were there just talking and mixing with the crowd, it was like, oh, Rod and I, we go back a long way. And you're thinking... But we all do. We all go back a long way with you. And I can remember hearing Every Picture Tells a Story and that Amazing Gracie thing you did with Maggie Bell. And you're thinking, it still can bring hairs up on the back of your neck.
Your bottom.
And, no, it might
that
be
was
moving.
1971, that was.
Good.
Every Picture Tells a Story, yeah.
Terrifying to think how far
and
back.
they say, where's all the time gone? The time has gone enjoying ourselves.
Too much. Rod Stewart, you wear it well. Now, someone who is a nurse called Cheryl says, I'm in A&E now, sat basically in a circle around a desk, and it is so quiet, honestly. And Alison says, the government have definitely done one thing thoroughly, and that's turning people against one another for having different views on something that no one can really be right or wrong about, because nobody knows the whole truth. It is very sad. There you go. Strong words. You see the comments that we get on the show. Very strong, very strong. What's yours? We have Louise in South Shields. Hi, Louise.
Hello, Alan. How are you?
I'm very well. Thanks for calling. What you got for me tonight?
Basically, it is about COVID, about everything that everyone's talking about.
Okay.
Tier 4, it came as no surprise to me, really, because you've got the people who are, who think that it doesn't exist. I'm one of these people who, it does exist. There is something out there, whether you want to call it COVID or not, there is something out there. There is something doing a lot of damage.
Right.
I believe the full national lockdown should have been brought in a while ago, not the flimsy one that we had in November, which really wasn't the lockdown at all. But I do believe we did make some progress within the first original lockdown. We did make some progress. And I think the full-on national lockdown really needs to happen again, and people need to sort of realise that, we need to do something about this. Otherwise, we're not going to get back to normal life.
But, okay, the first lockdown, you said we made headway. Then there was the second lockdown that you said was flimsy. Then there's this lockdown. What's the difference between what we're getting? Because, okay, they're telling us now that there's vaccines that may or may not work on the various separated strains, and we're told by virologists that most viruses morph 2 dozen different ways. So we don't know whether the vaccine's going to take them all out. We're not even really sure whether it'll take this one out for good. So how do we move forward? Because it just sounds like, another lockdown. That's another 3, 6. Are we going to be in this position next January?
Well, it does beg in the question, I've got to say that. But, I mean, at the end of the day, the original lockdown was schools were shut, pubs were shut, and it seems to be since they reopened the pubs. I mean, Boris Johnson talks about prioritising the children and their need for education. Mm-hmm. If that's the case, why did he reopen the pubs? He actually, it was actually a case of, schools should have been maybe reopened first, and, the pubs should have been left till that.
Right, but the schools are staying open. And we're being told also that they're hopeful that universities and colleges can stay open. So education in general, that's there. We're already told that the people in there, yes, there is a risk, but it's a very, very low risk with COVID. So they should be okay. Even if they were unfortunate enough to pick up the virus, their immune system should be youthful and strong enough to be able to get through it. But they can still spread it to the people in their homes when they go back from school, so they can give it to their parents, they can give it to their grandparents if they're in close proximity to them. Because some kids live with their grandparents, some of them have older parents in general. So how's the lockdown going to work under those circumstances?
I don't believe schools should be open. That's my prerogative. I really believe that schools shouldn't be open.
Right.
Because I believe that the transmission is, like, for example, my son, he obviously goes to school with the 30 bubble in his class.
Uh-huh.
I mean, who's to say that, the teacher hasn't brought it in, unbeknownst to them. They catch it off the teacher, or my son asymptomatically catches it off another child, brings it home, passes it on to me, I pass it on to my husband. My husband works in care, he's got vulnerable service users, he goes and visits them.
Right.
So it's one big vicious circle.
Right. Now, whether you like it or not, the schools are staying open, the colleges are the same, we hear. If that's the case, then it was interesting. I mentioned at the top of the show that, where was it? The holiday industry have had a message from the highest level, whatever that is, that the government have promised that all travel internationally will be back to normal from May. Now, we're going into lockdown. I don't know who in the government would say that, but I do understand that the travel industry's, pressuring hard to stay in business, so they're pushing the government to try and get that to happen. But if the schools are going to keep spreading it, first of all, what will happen is a lot more pubs, restaurants, cafes, tattooists, hairdressers will hit the wall because they can't keep paying rent when there's nothing coming in. So all the smaller self-employed businesses will go. The big national concessions will stay open. And beyond that, the virus will continue. So I just don't see where this is going to get us, this lockdown then, using what you say.
Well, not all schools are staying open. I mean, there's actually a couple of schools in South Shields who have confirmed that they're not opening.
Well, this is it. What I said at the top of the show was that Boris has said everybody goes back, but local councils, I think Wales, I think all of Wales, they're not sending their kids to school. So there've been a lot of areas that have said, oh, we're not having that. But I suppose all you need is a number of schools to stay open, and it keeps on going. I mean, how long do you think this one's going to last for? Because the first lockdown went on and on and on. This is not like it's going to be done by February, is it?
No, I know. I confess that I am getting a bit sick of all the lockdowns. I mean, I'm getting sick of all the different things that they're coming out with. Oh, there's the tier system, there's the level system, there's the lockdown. I am getting a bit sick of that.
But you heard the lady on before saying that even the health people's own website says that COVID's the 19th worst thing for us to worry about, meaning all that other stuff above them is far more damaging to us, and we didn't lock down for any of that. Should we not have just cracked on?
Well, there's something out there. There's something doing the damage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But whether you want to call it COVID, like I said, whether you want to call it COVID, whether you don't want to call it COVID.
Or whatever, yeah.
Whatever.
Yep.
There's something.
Has it affected you or any of your family in any shape?
Yes.
Or form? Right.
I've had family and friends who have actually had it. We actually don't even know if we had it at the beginning of the first lockdown.
And did everybody survive?
Luckily enough, yes. I did have one person who didn't, but like I heard the lady say before, how do you know? We are sort of at the stage where everything's COVID.
Yeah,
So-and-so died of this. It was COVID.
Yeah. So
and I think that's very, very wrong, because everything shouldn't be put down to COVID.
No, for sure. Okay, Louise, thank you very much for your views. Strong as ever. Love them. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye. There's Louise. Do you agree? Do you disagree? She's saying it should have been locked down long ago. Now, we talked about tats before, tattoos. Oh, hang on, we've got a couple of messages. Elaine says, hi, Alan, we live in Brisbane, in Australia, watching you from across the pond. We can't understand why people won't follow the rules set out by your own health advisors. We went into lockdown in April for 6 weeks, and after we had reduced our daily cases to around 10 for the whole of QLD, we started to lift restrictions. Now, with the way we react to what we call an outbreak, 10 people, we bring in restrictions within 24 hours to get it controlled. QLD are currently recording no community transmission cases a day, none. We do have returned citizens coming back with COVID, but they get locked into a quarantine hotel for 2 weeks until they show a clear result. Regards, Richard. Richard, your government acted immediately. Absolute respect. They dealt with it as soon as it was happening in your country. They acted. They've played a blinder. Australia's done really well with this. I've spoken to a few people in Oz about the whole situation. And in general terms, people think your government played a blinder, and so do I. And the fact that you've got the result that you have proves that the way you dealt with it was better. In Britain, it's not even really a case of why don't people do what they're told. 80 to 90% of the people do, and religiously try very, very hard, keeping their masks on, only shop once a week or once a fortnight. They go out and do exercise. They try to keep away from everybody. The vast majority of people are doing exactly. And I know you're hearing a lot of dissension because we're heartily sick, because we've had this as a daily thing since March. And it's never really let up in Britain, and the press are heavy on it. Every bulletin is the COVID news. It's not the news, it's just the COVID news. So it's been dealt with very, very differently. In Australia, they didn't terrify your socks off and keep you scared for 9 months. They have done that in Britain. And I've been lucky enough to do a little bit of travelling and had to quarantine because of it. And I've seen what other countries around Europe have done, and it's only Britain that have tried to scare the pants completely off their civilian population, and they've done a really good job of it. Hence the divisions where people saying it's a hoax, it's a scam. No, it's not. It's the worst thing since the plague. Da-di-da-di-da. So it's that's created this situation. In Australia, it's a very, very different thing. Got to take a quick break. We are back. You're on end of this. Talking to Ash in Dundee about tattoos.
This is
Night Owls
with Adam Robson.
Got something to say? Say it when the right people are listening.
Alan Robson's Night Owls.
The phone-in that gets you talking.
Greatest Hits Radio.
Now, just before we dive across to apps, just going to finish off a couple of quick emails. David says, can you say hello to Rick, me dad? He sang in the clubs for over 30 years, lost his eyesight. The operation went wrong. He's been in the dark ever since, but still listens to you. Spend most of my life in the dark as well, mate, one way or another. So respect to you. Keep on keeping on. David also says, by the end of the year, people who are suspected to be high risk of spreading, even if they don't have symptoms, and if they haven't had the vaccination, they will be taken away from their house and placed in confinement. There you go, in our free country. And is Gillian, completely different view to the lady that was on earlier. The woman who was on has lost the plot entirely. The 19 in COVID-19 simply stands for the year in which it was discovered. No, that's not what she was saying. There's a list of health issues which are considered most severe, and it's at number 19. It's nothing to do with the COVID-19. It happens to be in 19th place. Also, why does she not wear a mask? She brags she doesn't have to, but I consider her selfish and inconsiderate. I don't have to wear a mask as I have asthma and have something on my phone to show if I am challenged. I think, though, it is everyone's duty to wear one, so I have practiced at home wearing one, and I now manage to wear it when I need to go out. She should try it. And I wonder if any of your listeners watched Casualty last night. It was raw and heart-wrenching episode, and Amanda Mealing was magnificent. It has just returned after months off-screen and was set in the first wave of the pandemic. Catch it on iPlayer. Gillian, I hear what you say, but on the same hand, we had another lady saying it was the biased BBC trying to scare people, and a nurse, Cheryl, came on saying she's in A&E now and there's no problem. They're not overwhelmed in any shape or form. They're sitting around a table, bored out of their twigs. So, who do you believe is the question? Right, let's get to Ash, because it's all about tattoos. Hi, Ash.
Hello, bud. You alright?
I'm good. Tell me your tattoo tales.
So, where to begin? Anyway, right. I got 2 tattoos off me pal when we were younger. He got a tattoo gun, so we got that done. And then when I became a big boy, I got 2 tattoos. My mum was a roadie from Motorhead for over 19 years and that.
Right.
So I grew up with him from backstage from the age of 4 all the way up. He called me his twat rat.
Whoa, right.
So
how long did it take?
The one on my arm, which I can't really see on radio no matter what time it is. It says 51% mother fornicator.
Oh, right.
49% son of what rhymes with a witch.
Right, getcha. Right, we get away with the butch, but the other one's mother flipper. Yes, mother flipper. Right.
That's the one.
Gotcha.
And it's got
but hang on. First of all, why that? Because a decent amount of the community would be completely offended by that. Was that the reason?
Right, well, there's a few, actually. Fair few. Well, I got my wife, and before she was my wife, she also had children before me, so that legitimizes the top part.
Right.
But that's because, let me have it as 49% SOB.
Yes.
And, yeah. Sure, it was I just switched the numbers around. Got 2 iron crosses on either side and a big ace in the middle.
Oh, so you're a head fan anyway.
Oh, aye, which made me laugh because I think I know exactly what the clues are, and I'm not going to say it, but I've already. What is it with your Motorhead references tonight? I couldn't believe that Elton John louder than Motorhead. I was like, what?
It was just for you. But mind you, it is true, though, that Elton John's band were louder than... And I don't know how or why, but they kicked some... And he's playing a piano, and you're thinking, well, that wasn't particularly loud. But when the band came in, it was like a jumbo jet had just took off. It was...
I think it's one of them things where you've got to get the sound right with the right kind of amplification in the City Hall, because every time like Motorhead plays, they'd be dead dodgy about the sound. I don't know what it is about the City Hall, man. It's just the sound in there. It's something about it. So you'd always get really wound up about it there.
And mind you, I think that is true, because Elton John would have had probably a lot more money to have techies come in and do that, and Lemmy would have the "We Are the Road Crew." He would just have his lads doing it, probably. You know.
Well, I mean, like Murder One can only go so high. It doesn't go up to 11. You know. But it was that, and he really liked it actually, because he pulled us on the bus. Turned around and he was like, security came out. It was just after Wurzel died, and his mum just passed away as well. So he wasn't actually well. He had the flu as well. He wasn't looking too jolly. So he comes out, and I'm like, "Right then." He's like, "Yeah, man." So he gets on the bus, gets everyone's stuff signed and that, sits down. No one's allowed on the bus like that. Hang around too long.
Sure.
Security comes over. I've never met a security before. He's a big American lad. And he says, right, which one of you guys is Murray? And he went, get on the bus. So I was like, all right.
Wow.
So that's on the bus. Everyone's like looking at me drummer who was standing outside at the time. So I dragged him along. He's like, they're all looking outside, like, what's going on there?
Yeah.
So he was getting questioned like an FBI. He's just pulled some terrorist, you know what I mean? So I'm standing there in front of them. I'm like, you all right, man? How's it going? He's like, all right, man. It's just feeling a bit under the weather. You know? He says, how was it, mate? I went, sounded awesome as always. I'm still not too sure on the sound. And I was like, all right. But I think he goes, that's something to show you. So I rolled up that sleeve. And he was like, oh, that's awesome. I wish I had that one instead of this. And like his ace one, that's his Born to Lose, Live to Win. And then I turned around and I've got Snaggletooth on the other one, which is Born to Lose, Live to Win, in Old English writing.
Right. Sure,
and he saw that one, he was like, oh, thank you very much. I'm like, for what?
I mean, how good is that? I mean, to get that close to your hero and to start with, and I mean, Lemmy's quite a guy.
Well, I mean, I'm lucky enough to have that option because of my mum and all that, you know what I mean? Because of her being a roadie. I mean, she's worked with like Guns N' Roses, Aerosmith, Pavarotti, Anthrax, INXS, Pavarotti. You know what I mean? There's loads.
I would imagine you probably don't have Ness and Dormer tattooed on your butt, though.
Oh, no, I'm not mad, you know. No. I mean, it's just one of them things where, like, I was lucky enough to meet and hang around with who I could.
That's good.
And when I could, and I grew up musicians, so, you
Tremendous. Nah, it's
all
good.
went well.
Good stuff. As I said, for those that know me, they know that I once sadly got a Motorhead gig cancelled for having a fight with Filthy Phil, and we both ended up with broken bones. And
that's amazing.
And we fell out with Motorhead big style. Not the company, just me and the rock show I was doing at the time. And eventually, over the years, we both kind of round about the time that Wurzel came into the band, we got back tight again. Because they sent Wurzel in instead of Filthy Phil, and we've lost both Lemmy and Phil now, which is a shame.
Well, from Eddie, Wurzel, Phil, Lem, the only ones left at the minute is Phil Campbell and Mickey D.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Hey, tough times. Good talking to you though, Ash.
Definitely.
Thanks for coming on.
I just want to say I love you, the missus, and hope she gets out of hospital soon because she got taken in with stomach problems. But I hope everyone night owls is doing well. I hope the new year gets better for it now. That's all I can say, really.
Give me love to your lass as well. Hope she's back home soon.
Okay,
thanks a lot, man. Take care.
Cheers, man.
Cheers, Ash. Bye-bye. Ash in Dundee, where the cakes come from, man. Ho. 0191 488 3188. Time for a piece of music. How rocky can we make it? I should play Ace of Spades there because it was just yelling. It was yelling to be done. Haven't got more ahead, but we've got a bit of Slade.
as much vaccination as we've got vaccines available. In the end, it's a logistics challenge, it's a challenge of organisation. And because these new vaccines are much simpler to administer than the Pfizer vaccine, we should be able to do this at a vastly increased scale.
Labour's leader Sir Keir Starmer is urging the government to impose a national lockdown within the next 24 hours. He says the virus is clearly out of control. It says primary schools outside of London and the South East reopened this morning, despite pressure from teaching unions to keep children in England at home. A recording's been released of Donald Trump demanding that officials in Georgia find thousands of extra votes to overturn the result of the US election. In the audio snippets obtained by NBC News, the president can be heard launching into a barrage of discredited conspiracy theories. A murder investigation is underway following the death of a 13-year-old boy in Reading. Officers were called yesterday afternoon to reports of a stabbing near Emma Green. No arrests have been made. In sport, Manchester City boss Pep Guardiola insists there's no new style of play from that which won them the Premier League after a 3-1 victory at Chelsea. They're now just 4 points off the top. Guardiola says the team's winning approach has returned.
The way we won the Premier League and we won 4 titles in 1 year and many things in these years is because we like today. It doesn't matter the player play more here or there or more one player more here or there. The way, the tempo you have to play that we miss it in the past, today we'll recover it.
Leicester are up to third thanks to a 2-1 victory away to Newcastle. The victory moves them above Tottenham, who have played a game less. From Sky News, I'm Georgina Campbell.
There we go. Now, just a quickie, did you get yourself a new smart speaker for Christmas? If so, make sure you get it to play Greatest Hits Radio Northeast. Make sure that is the case. And if you've got a new phone, you can download the Greatest Hits app, which would be beneficial to all sides, I would have thought. Let's get on as many calls as we can. Got your third clue, though, to win said mug. The Night Owl's mug, if you want one. Clue number 1 is... who was the menace from our childhood comics? Who was the menace? Somebody the menace. Second clue. And that is a Motorhead song or a World War II plane made in Lancaster. The third clue, Mr. White was the first, the last, your everything. What was his first name? Mr. White, the first, the last, your everything. See you right about romance. He also sang that one and loads of other hits. He had a lot of hits. Okay? Can't get enough of your love, babe. Mr. White, what was his first name? 3 clues. 1 more clue to come, and then you've got to work out what song they're all linked to. That's the deal, okay? Let's do a couple of quick emails. Mark says, where can I get some help? I think this COVID and lockdown has completely knocked me all to pot. Thankfully, I haven't had the virus, but my whole sleep pattern's all to hell. I awake when I should be asleep. I sleep when I should be awake. My whole diet and exercise is completely non-existent. Please help. You're on your own, Mark, to be honest. And that's the problem with people who have any kind of mental health issues. You've been written off. You can try and talk to your doctor, who will try to avoid you. And that's the reality of it, and it's sad. I've heard it a lot of times from people with mental health issues. They're not getting remotely the help they can. Mind are doing the best they can with limited resources, but blimey, it's a tough time if you've got mental health issues. Scott's been on. The media and the government have done a brilliant job of scaring people. I thought that by this point people would have started to wake up, but it appears that most people seem to want more restrictions put in place. My question to everyone who wants to be kept locked down is, if this doesn't go away, and let's face it, it's been here 20 years, I know a lot of people say it was just March, the actual virus as it is has been with us 20 years. Do we live like this forever? Are they happy for life to be like this? What a sad and pathetic existence that would be. There you go. What do you think? Do you agree? Let's crack on. We have Valerie in South Shields. My goodness, I seem to remember Steve Winwood had a hit so-called, and Amy Winehouse and all the rest of it. Oh, blimey. Hello, Valerie.
Hello there, Alan.
Hello, my darling. What can we do for you?
I'd just like to give you my experience.
Okay.
Before I start, I've been a night owl for as long as you've been broadcasting. thing. I was a night owl when James Whale did it.
Good heavens. Well done, and thanks very much for your...
The only time I didn't listen was if I was out of the country.
Right, okay. Well, that's good of you. Thank you very much.
Right, well, I must have been incredibly lucky.
Right.
Because I took ill in August.
Right.
My son phoned the doctor at my normal surgery. And he was told that someone would ring him back within an hour.
Right.
And a doctor from the surgery did ring him back within the hour. And the upshot was I was admitted to hospital where it was discovered I had a clot on the lung.
A clot? Oh, blimey. So in a way, all of this malarkey going on now kind of worked in your favour because they got you in thinking it was probably COVID and they discovered a blood clot that could have killed you.
Well, I was in for 6 days. And I can assure you the ward I was on, there was no nurses sitting around.
Right.
They were on their feet the whole time.
Right.
And every morning, when the cleaning staff came in, everything was thoroughly cleaned. Right. The walls were cleaned down, the beds, under the beds, all over.
Good.
And as I say, the nurses, they were just fantastic.
I'm guessing you were given warfarin as a blood thinner to try and sort out the clot. Did they take an X-ray to find it, or?
Well, I had 3 scans.
Right.
And they had to give me injections in my stomach every day.
Oh, that's not nice.
And when I came home, a community nurse came in every day for 6 weeks to continue with those injections. Now, I'm on a medication now called Apscriban. I'm not pronouncing it properly.
Nobody can, don't worry about it. You're on tablets, right.
But anyway, a fortnight ago, I was really poorly again. I was crippled with back pain. I couldn't move.
Right.
So I phoned my local surgery, and a recording came on, giving the name of the surgery and saying, we are open. A doctor will leave your name and telephone number. A doctor will ring you back within the hour. And a half an hour later, one of the doctors from the practice rang me back. And she said, right. Now, she said, if you would like to come down and see me face to face, I can arrange that for you.
Wow.
Now, she says, can you come down within the next hour? And I said, well, I'll have to contact one of my sons because I'm in a wheelchair. Right. I can't get down under my own steam.
Right.
She said, right, you ring who you've got to ring and ring back straight back.
Right.
Which I did. And I saw my own, one of the practice doctors, face to face within an hour.
Was he dressed like he'd just come back from the moon landings?
Well, she had a face mask on and one of those plastic things.
Right.
We had to ring the bell at the surgery.
Yeah.
Obviously, the door wasn't open for anyone to walk in. We had about a 3-minute wait, and the doctor herself came down the corridor and took us into a room.
Did they check your temperature before they got you in there?
Once I was in the room with the doctor, she checked my temperature straight away. She went over my other symptoms, and she said, now, normally I would have sent you straight to A&E for MRI, but I can't do that. But I can assure you you'll get it within the MRI scan within the next 2 days.
Right.
She sorted another problem out for me, which is a little bit embarrassing. I won't go into that.
Now you've made me more interested in that now. You know you said that, but you keep it to yourself.
Well, I've also got a full prolapse. I don't know if you know what that means.
Yes, leave it alone. No, that's images in my head all night now. But okay.
Anyway, within 2 days, I got an appointment for an MRI scan, which is tomorrow, actually.
Oh, good luck. So we still haven't found out what's causing the back problems?
No, but it's very, very painful and nasty.
I hope it's not a disc or anything. That's a right faff.
Well, I've got a feeling it might be.
Right.
But anyway, I just thought I'd let you know that some surgeries are helping their patients.
That's great. Good. It's a sign of a good one when that can happen, I must admit.
And I'm very grateful to the NHS for what they've done for me.
Great.
And I'm grateful for the time I spent in hospital. And I saw how hard those nurses and doctors were working.
Well, let's just hope that tomorrow they can say, oh, that's just a swelling here. Take these tablets, it'll bring the swelling down and life can get back to normal for you.
Well, I'm 80.
Right.
So I haven't had a lot to complain about in my life. So if I've got a back pain that's stopping me from walking properly now, I can't really complain, can I?
No, but we can think positively that you've got another good 20 years left of you in the tank, and we want you to be as comfortable as you possibly can in that time.
I don't think I could manage another 20.
Hey, come on, I need the listeners. You've got to hang on in there for me.
I'm satisfied, very satisfied. Anyway, keep up the good work, Alan.
I'll do
and
me
I was
damnedest.
absolutely bereft when your nightly show stopped.
Yeah. Well, so was I.
And my husband would have been as well. Sadly, I lost him 3 years ago this March.
I'm so sorry.
But he was as dedicated as I was.
Lovely. It was great to have you on side. Thanks a lot and good luck tomorrow. Hope it goes well for you.
Okay, and thank you for the pleasure you've given both me and my late husband during the last years.
You're more than welcome. It's my honour. Thank you very much.
Okay. Bye-bye, Alan.
Bye-bye. How sweet is that? 0191 488 3188. I was jesting about the other health issue, but that's how the degree of trust, and I certainly don't take it lightly, and it's a nasty damn thing, so we wish her well. 0191 488 3188. In 15 to 20 minutes, you're going to get your fourth clue. Then you can have a guess to see if you can work out the name of a greatest hit that we're looking for, inspired by the four names that you are receiving, the four words. See if you can work it out. Let us go to Cramlington next. We've got Jordan there. Hi, Jordan.
Hello, Alan. How are you doing?
Champion. Thank you kindly. What's your view on everything then? Dive in.
Well, I had a lovely little discussion with someone on your Facebook page, actually, about my view on the COVID restrictions.
Oh, this is somebody probably annoyed at you, are they? It seems that everybody gets annoyed with anybody that doesn't think what they think.
See, I don't.
Right.
But that's because I've found out about this thing. I don't know if you know about it, the Great Barrington Declaration.
Tell me more.
The gist of it is, life goes back to normal, exactly as it was. However, because everyone goes back to work and there's no furlough, all that money is saved.
Right.
Which means there is more money per person to actually spend on those who are elderly or vulnerable or, immune suppressed.
Right.
To protect those people.
Okay.
And it gets the economy going again as well.
Right.
Meanwhile, the virus, yes, it will spread, but at the same time, as it spreads, and those who are not elderly or not vulnerable or not immune compromised, they fight it off, and they've got their own, a naturally occurring T-cell immunity, we call it.
Uh-huh.
And that all adds up towards herd immunity, which is how the other three human transmissible coronaviruses are primarily controlled in this country.
Right, so what was the point then? If we were always going to get to the point where everybody just goes back to normal and does their thing, and the virus goes through us like a dose of salts like every virus previously has, and then we gain immunity as we always have, until a new strain comes along, and then same thing happens again. Why did we go through the whole dance then? What was that all about? Because we could have just...
in the first instance, when the virus first surfaced, we didn't know anything about it.
Yeah, but it's been with us apparently.
The lockdown.
Well, it's been 20. We've had it. We've known about COVID viruses per se for 20 odd years, and I know it was named like dun dun dun. We have a new virus. It wasn't really a new virus. It's something that the doctors have known about for decades. So.
But this particular strain, they've known about it in animals, not necessarily in humans.
Right. Okay.
So when it became a human transmissible virus, it's like, oh no, this is new. We don't know what it's going to do. Shut everybody down. Keep everyone away from everyone.
Yeah,
and
but hang on.
I would agree with that actually.
In previous viruses, not COVID ones, admittedly, but in all of the other things like Ebola, for heaven's sake, which was nasty, Asian flu, Spanish flu that took out millions of people. they were all nasty and we didn't know what they were and they were new, but we didn't stop. We just cracked on.
Well, the Ebola thing, I have actually raised that question. How come we didn't lock down then? And the best answer I've been given is because we didn't understand the severity of it.
Okay, but I mean, there was no doubt over the severity of Spanish flu. It had already killed millions of people before it landed in Britain.
That was a little bit before my time, so I can't possibly speculate there.
Fair enough. Well, I'm not going to go back as far as the plague, because everybody seems to link it to the plague. It was nothing like
I've
the
had
plague.
that one a lot as well.
It was nothing like the plague, though. Is the thing. This is not human to human. The plague was fleas to rats to humans, kind of. But
everything to everything.
Yeah.
No one was exempt.
So okay, you seem to have more answers than many. How's this all going to end?
How's it going to end?
How's the virusy thing going to end, or is it?
I would like to say it's going to end with everything going back to how it was. You know, you could go around to your mum and dad's or your son and daughters or your auntie and uncle or grandma and granda, whoever, you know, sit down, have a cup of tea without having to worry about, am I killing my family? Honestly, I don't think it's going to go that way because you've got, I can't remember the guy's name. He's some government advisor. He's saying he wants social distancing and mask wearing and whatnot to carry on after the pandemic's declared over. And then you've got guys like Carl Hennigan. Are you familiar with that name?
I am, yes.
The professor of evidence-based medicine. He's saying things along the lines of the pandemic could possibly already be over because we although we didn't know it, we came into the pandemic with some people having some level of immunity. And then you've got, do you know Mike Eden, Dr. Mike Eden, the former CMO at Pfizer? Wonderful gentleman. I've never met him, but you know, I've seen him doing his talk shows on talk radio.
He's solid.
He seems to know his stuff.
Yeah.
But like I say, the way I would like to see it end is with everybody being able to go and just sit down with your family and have a cup of tea without fear of, you know, killing your relatives or some sort of financial penalty from the police. So that seems to be a big thing they've pushed as well. You will do as you're told, or there'll be police action. Well, if you look at Office of National Statistics figures before the first lockdown, the numbers were actually coming down. When we were being trusted to do the right thing, the numbers were coming down.
Yeah.
And then Boris says, all right, you're not doing as you're told, so I'm going to lock you down, and there's penalties for this and fines for that. And all of a sudden things went backwards.
Right.
So
you think this is interesting because in Europe, and again, I'm talking about Central Europe more than Scandinavia and the periphery, France, Germany, Belgium, Holland, Austria, Switzerland, those countries, the government have trusted their people to be sensible, and in most cases, they've had an up, they've had a down, they've had roughly kind of what we've had, some better, some worse, but it's been roughly the same, and they've trusted their people. In Britain, we've locked down twice, and then the tier thing came in, which is the same. Then we're expecting a more severe lockdown. Has the government handled it right, or should they just have gone along with how everybody else was doing it?
I don't think they've handled anything right. I think Boris has put too much faith in the wrong people, to be honest. That's my opinion, for what it's worth.
Right.
Especially in the case of our beloved health secretary, who doesn't have the numbers.
Right. Well, mind you, Boris is not great at numbers at the best of times. Yeah, I have to be honest.
I won't disagree there.
Right.
But the one thing with Matt Hancock, and I saw this purely by chance. It was Julia Hartley-Brewer on Talk Radio was interviewing Matt Hancock. And he was going on about the hospital admissions and COVID cases in the Bolton area.
Right.
And he says that the curve has increased exponentially. It's a huge increase. Julia Hartley-Brewer, she says, do you know the exact number of COVID hospital admissions in the Bolton area? And he says, well, no, I don't, but I've seen the graph, and it's huge. It's huge. It's doubling at an exponential rate. And she said, no, it's 2. Right. It went from 0 to 2.
Right.
He goes, no, that's not right. That's not right. I haven't seen the numbers, but I've seen the graph, and that's not right.
Yeah, but you see on a graph, that's a 200% rise.
Yeah, and this is the man that's responsible for our health at the moment.
Yeah, that's a scary thing. I mean, we've looked at numbers nationally about right from the very beginning. After 2 months of the lockdown, I went through all of the figures of last year, month by month, region by region, and I added the whole lot up. And there was more people dying of flu-like conditions last year, before all of this, than there were this year. And that to me, I say this year, last year, the beginning of last year. So it doesn't make any sense that that we should have had the heavy-handedness of the media campaign. First time I've ever seen something where television and newspapers were ordered what to say. I've been in broadcasting a lot of years. Never seen that before.
But what I would like to see with regards to the media, do you know when Boris has these press conferences and he's got that lady from Sky and the guy from BBC? And
yeah.
Obviously their questions are vetted so that he can be briefed into, right, this is the answer you're going to give, make it sound convincing.
Uh-huh.
I would love for one of them to put that question forward, say, all right, yep, you've got yourself a seat. And when they get in there, ask a totally different question.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Curveball him. But none of them have got the guts to do it. And the ones that have got no chance of getting in the room.
Well, the problem is that if they did chuck a grenade in the room, so to speak, which is what that would have been, or that's what it would feel like for them, they run the risk, because you got to remember they've been warned that if they step out of line from what the emergency powers, it's like a superpower, but it's an emergency one, if you break free of what the emergency powers order you and instruct you to do, you could lose the license for your programmer. So if it's a UK TV company, say, or UK radio station, they could lose their license on the back of that. And I don't think there's any boss of a TV or a radio station willing to risk it. Because they've been heavy-handed with TV presenters, and some TV presenters have lost their seat on the settee because of this.
I get what you're saying, but those journalists, do they not have an obligation to the truth? Not the vetted truth, not the screen truth, not the pre-written truth, the actual truth.
Yeah, I absolutely believe that. But then I also believe that if you've got a choice to have a living or not to have a living over a principle, which way would you go?
On many occasions, I found myself out of work on principle.
There you go. Well, yeah, but that's the big choice. And it might be a bigger choice if you were a TV personality getting 500 grand a year for doing what you do, to then say, oh, well, hang on, I'm either unemployed or I've got a 500 grand a year job. Temptation would be to stay in the 500 grand a year job.
Being the person that caught Boris out, that's something to put on the CV, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree, but who would hire them if they thought that by hiring them they would lose their licence?
Well, Rupert Murdoch's got no morals, has he?
You're getting into another place there. But anyway, thank you for calling, Jordan. All the best.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, man. Take care. What do you think? 0191 488 3188. Alicia is calling from Newcastle upon the Tyne. Hello, Alicia.
Hiya, how are you?
I'm very well. I hope you are well too.
Yeah, so I just wanted to jump up to talk about a video that I made.
Oh, go on in.
And I've made videos for a business in the past, a really actually high, well-known business.
Right.
And I was sitting there and I was watching Emmerdale, and one of the characters gave a speech about how bad 2019 was,
right,
and how hard it was, and the audio really touched us. So I decided to take the audio and I included some footage and photos that I found of the nurses and the work that they've done. And then what I done was I took pictures that I took with my family, and I sort of like montaged it together.
Cool.
And I'm really, I'm very young, and I've always done the videos as a hobby.
Right.
And then from there, I published it on Facebook.
Brilliant. What's it called so people can have a look at it then, Alicia?
If you go on my page, it'll be the more like the top video.
Right, but
Like,
what
okay.
is your page? We can't guess it. So go on.
It's Alicia Manning. I've probably been very vocal in the comments section. Actually,
Is it Alicia with an E or Alicia with an A?
ELLISHA and then Manning.
Alicia Manning. So if you go to the that Facebook, it's the top one.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Right, that's
and I was blown away. I've got over 900 views on it.
Wow, that's brilliant.
And I was blown away by the support and everything because it was originally a hobby. And obviously it still is. I really enjoy doing them, and I did them on my phone.
Well, it'll encourage you to put some more effort in and do some more big, grand productions then.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And, I as I said, I do them for a hobby. So, it just, I just got really emotional about, obviously, the speech. And, people, obviously, many people have saw it. And I didn't obviously just do it to, give self-promotion. I done it because, obviously, I'm really passionate about it. And I actually got quite emotional. So I just thought it was a good thing to do.
Yeah. Well, it sounds it. I mean, it sounds like it's worked because you wouldn't have had that many people if it wasn't up to the scratch. So well done.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And while I'm on here, could I just quickly talk about the school situation?
Of course you can, yeah. Where do you stand with all of it then?
Well, obviously I'm in my final year at school. I'm in year 11, so I'm obviously quite young. I'm 15.
Sure.
And then basically it's really mixed views with it, in my opinion, because you would expect me to say, we need to keep schools open because I need to do my GCSEs, which obviously I would very much like to do my GCSEs.
Sure.
But at the same time, if the schools aren't safe in London, then they're obviously not safe here.
Right.
With us being in tier 4. And then it's obviously such a bad idea because obviously it's not safe. And at the same time, we also need to think about children's mental health as well.
Yeah, but you see, some people say, they describe you as kids. You are a young adult, but they say, get the kids back to school because it's for their mental health. So give them something to do in the morning, something to do in the afternoon, then their homework when they get home. It gives them a purpose. If not, they're just flapping about. I mean, do you see yourself actually at risk? Because even though in London there have been numerous young people that have caught COVID, but there haven't been massive numbers of deaths or anything. They just have a cough, they stay home for 12 days, then they go back to school. Is there generally people in your class who are scared?
Yeah, there's lots that are really scared. I think I know that one person actually got tested for COVID in my year, but the main thing is that we didn't get the only people who got sent home was a small fraction of the people who got in contact with them.
Right.
So not actually all of us got sent home, but at the same time, I think obviously I think it is also a good idea as well because, as I said, it would be nice for me to do my GCSEs. However, I would like to put my safety first and other people's, of course.
Right, sure.
So, yeah,
So you're just saying safety for if everybody else is locking down in tier 4 and you can't do this, you can't do that, you think that families should be united together and not going in and out the home unnecessarily, which is I know that Boris has said that going to school is very necessary because your education's already been tripped up enough. I mean, would you have enough education to go into your GCSEs, or are you technically going to have to do another year to get to the same point?
In my opinion, I'd rather do another year because if we've basically learned nothing, and I know the union said that they want to close the schools for an extra 2 weeks.
Yeah, they've said that.
But if you think about it as well, why 2 weeks? Do you know what I mean? What's 2 weeks going to do? Why an extra 2 weeks? COVID isn't going to go away within 2 weeks.
Right.
So there is balance and points.
There'll be some people that'll be saying, When I was 15, I would have said exactly the same, because I want to be off for another fortnight to a month, and I'll watch all my favourite films. I'll go on Netflix and I'll talk to all my mates on the computer. Is there not a bit of that?
Yeah, there's lots of that, actually. Most people, most of my friends say the exact same thing.
Right.
You know, and I'm petrified, to be honest, because if I don't sit my GCSEs, then I'm in a very, very horrible position, because after I leave school, I want to hopefully be a police officer.
Right.
And I'm petrified if I don't do my GCSEs. However, you know,
you can't get the grades that'll get you in there. That's it. Hey, well,
I think,
yeah, whether you like it or not, for now anyway, you're there. You're still at school.
I actually like school as well.
Keep me posted, though, over the next few weeks, just what the general atmosphere is and what other people's views are. Have a mooch around. Be an investigative journalist for us, and maybe even have a word with one or two of the teachers to see where they stand on this. Because if you don't ask, you don't know. And I think it's fascinating that you're saying a lot of people are frightened, but on the other hand, it's because to me, as a scally, first I would have thought this is the perfect opportunity for me not to go to school and wag it. And if they ring the house, I'm not sending our Alan in there. I'm too worried about it. You know, this is the opportunity for you to wag till your heart's content. But it's interesting that you genuinely feel at risk, and that in itself is proof that the government have done a solid job, because they haven't just frightened older people, who are the people who are most at risk. They frightened everybody all the way down to people who are least at risk, which is your group.
Of course, yeah, and obviously different generations are going to see different things, and that's completely fine, you know. It is also a good thing as well. I'm just going to point this out, because obviously, like I said, for mental health, and I feel like it's very hard if you are off school, you know, the self-motivation and everything. It is really hard to actually do the work, because if you're not in a classroom environment, it's easier to just go, well, I'm not doing that, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Suppose if you are in a classroom, you've got no choice, really. But, you know, different generations are going to say, like, different things, and I completely, you know, agree with that, because, you know, my family obviously comes from different generations.
Sure, of course. No, but for me, it's like I can either work on my program that I've got from school or Netflix. It's not a tough call. You're going to be watching a film and having. I think I'll have some toast. Oh, I'll have a pot noodle. It's what we do. It's what we do. We're easily distracted by nice things, and the thing about this is we've kind of got used to chilling as well, which is weird.
Yeah.
It's weird, because people who have worked like 16 hours a day for 20 years have suddenly said, what the hell am I supposed to do now? I'm off for what? 10 weeks, 12 weeks? It's a very strange situation. But keep your ears open, Alicia, and thank you very much for calling.
No problem.
Good luck to you.
I'll try and see if I can come on next week and let you know what's going on. Because I'm meant to be going back on the 11th.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Whether that happens or not.
Well, we'll see. Good luck. Thanks for calling.
No, but thank you
Cheers,
very much.
Alicia.
Have a nice night.
I will do. Cheers, darling. There you go. 15 going on 25. 0191 4883 188. Oh, I have a need. I have an itch to scratch. And that itch has Mark Bolan written all over it.